from 7 to 3. Overindulged in flesh like it's free. We're on a fast track where monkeys killing time with machines. Making love that we don't even feel. You don't even notice if it's her or it's me. But somewhere deep in it's cutting like a knife, so you just kill it with that one. All of a sudden you are free. You call your mom and say, hey, it's me. I just need some more mommy money. I'm gonna spend it, filling up my house, my face, my body, and my tongue, 'cause I just wanna feel good. Using all that's left, somewhere in your chest, on your sweetheart hit a mist. Uh-oh.
hammered by the end of the day on a Thursday, and like it was terrible. Like so I was like, okay, not good. And so we go and look through here, and I go and look, and so you just go each one. Hassan, same. It's like almost manufactured. You go to like other ones that go on here, manufactured. Destiny, manufactured. I'll go watch the Big JC, and he'll be a 2-viewer Andy, and he's parodying the exact same thing that Destiny said. I'll go watch like anybody. You just go watch them, and it's crazy because it's just like the same 5 things, and like they don't just no originality.
Hold on, I gotta give you a bit.
You can say the same thing about Timcast and like Dave Rubin and go through every single like right-wing podcaster.
That absolutely happens. What Corey is saying.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about on the macro. I'm talking about at the lower levels.
One. Okay, I think there's 2 things. One, I think
you can watch Unite is the same exact thing as like Destiny, and she's like smaller, and that's the same. Like go watch Enemy Charlie. She's gonna say the same thing as they do. Like it's the same 5 talking points.
Hold on. There's no. Wait a minute. There's a few things happening. One, like I think you're right to say that there is a certain level of, hey, I watch this person and then like I take in their talking points, right? And it like goes down the hill. That happens on both sides. Certainly, right? Like of course, if you like it's not like there's an infinite circle of like content creators, right?
Yeah, the reason you can't hear the panel is because I got popped out into the waiting room, and Prime is like basically doing his thing, and he hasn't noticed that I'm no longer in the Discord room. Let me That's why I hate Discord, fellas. I mean, one of many reasons, but this is definitely a reason to hate it.
So
there you go.
And according to Gibbs, all of a sudden after 9/11, soft power came in. It's like everyone just.
Right, you guys.
Let me bridge
the frequency. I'm sure you
Admiral Gibbs.
Soft power had gone down again. It's not like they kept talking about it in the same manner. But you're arguing. You're arguing you're missing the whole point, Brian.
Guys, I know there was no
when
sound
it goes from like
I was in the waiting
there's
room.
famous
You have
TikToks
sound now.
of when we go and watch the news, and it's all these 500 different news channels, and they're using the exact same phrasing for every story. mandatory,
town.
even local ones. Everybody knows
Yeah, they
this, right?
literally.
And hold on. And so then
They have a corporate
I go and
headquarters
watch-
that gives them that.
Sure. Then I go and watch. Yeah, exactly. That's my point right there. Then we
Yeah.
go and watch. Then we go and watch the lefties, like I don't know, like you and I, or we go watch Emily Charlie, or I go watch any of these people that like talk their
You can do the
content.
same
I go
thing on
watch
the
these
conservative
go,
side.
and it's
There
the
are
exact
exactly
same.
that.
No. Hold on. And I go watch these things, and it's like people that are mid to small size. These people are literally parodying the exact same points in a manufactured manner. Hold on, I know you want to interrupt before they're parodying their manufactured manner. They're ready to go, yada yada. Then when we go look at the conservative side and see people of equal size, this is the point I made earlier. Like Fabian, me, Grid, we are all making our own original arguments that are completely different than any other manufactured.
Okay, that's
one.
100% originality coming out of
Yeah.
you guys.
You had me until that. That commercial that you're talking about, where everyone was repeating the same things word for word, that was I forget the name of it, but it's that massive like corporation that bought up a conservative news station, Sinclair. That you're talking about Sinclair. That's on the right, not on the left. Now, admittedly, this happens on the left too. I mean, we've known about this.
About
like
the manufactured aspect of
this
it.
is Chomsky. Yeah,
This is what I know. This is
Chomsky. Yeah,
so what happens is there are like these massive movers, right, in the media industry, and they kind of set the Overton window and the language that's going to be used to discuss any particular
New York
topic.
Times,
right?
Wall Street Journal, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they give you the language that's going to be used when they're discussing the topic. They give you the allowed perspectives on it, right? They give you the Overton window, and then everybody else is responding to that Overton window in the language that they've put out. So they end up parroting a lot of the same stuff, right? So I don't think it's as like intentional on the part of many of these smaller streamers and creators as you think it is. But I think that that absolutely exists, right? We know that there are streamers on both sides of the political aisle who work directly with the DNC and the RNC. Right? They absolutely do. They get funding from these people. They sit with them, and we have people in our little Twitcher sphere space, right? Working with what was that place called? Progressive Victory. Sitting in meetings together, getting talking points together to come onto Twitch and regurgitate these talking points.
Well, that's my point. That's my point,
right?
But
so let me hold on.
Disingenuous.
Let me interject here, right? Because I want to bridge the gap here. So, to an extent, kind of all of what you're saying is true, and there's a missing element, and I'll get to it in just a second, right? But yes, okay. People
All right, guys,
see larger creators and they try and mimic their success, both consciously and subconsciously, right?
This is the open debate
and sometimes you do it not even trying to mimic other success. You do it just because of what works. You follow trends, right?
Roll with
you do a stream.
There's no telling what's going to go on.
Talking about.
So
lo and behold, nobody tunes in. Then you
it's
do
going to be a good time.
Topical,
pretty sure it's going to be a great time for everybody.
Everybody's tuned in.
I might get a little hangry later. I haven't really had any food,
and there's also
and I don't know that I have any snacks in my lair
the DNC had
here
a whole
in the
bunch of people,
studio.
especially during the Kamala campaign.
So unless I can get some
getting,
snacks, I might get I might be a little angry.
Especially on TikTok, right? They thought
a
they
little
were going to win the election by
as long as you guys can hear me, everything is cool. If not, let me know.
Looking 21-year-old
we're going to get into this.
That we're going to all say the same thing.
I got to catch up on one of the arguments.
I think, however, though there is a distinction. I do think it happens a little bit more on the left, and I'll tell you why. And the reason I think it happens a little bit more on the left is, one, I think that the DNC, I would love to look at the numbers if we ever could. It'd be very difficult to figure it out all the way, but because we won't know through NGOs, which is where most of this money is gone through, right? But I think that with things like USAID and money that goes to NGOs, that you're gonna have more money for this on the left. And so there's going to be a little bit more
appreciate
of that happening on the left.
I'm muted right now. I've muted myself so that I can.
I think another portion of it is that left wing. You can look at this both negatively or positively, but it's more collectivist, right? It's more solidarity with other people. It's more, we're a group fighting against the bad guy or whatever, right? And especially currently, the left doesn't have a single bad guy to fight against.
You guys can hear me.
Sorry, the right doesn't have a single bad guy to fight against, whereas the left is in a unified message against Trump, whatever the talking points may be.
Chairman of the board.
So when you combine the fact that the right tends to be more individualistic. And you also combine, I think, as well, the fact that the far left and the neoliberal left are very much against each other.
If that's
almost
Jack, just go ahead and
right?
time him out permanently.
Like the tankies
Jack
are
is not allowed.
always like liberals get the bullet too, like hardcore saying crazy shit, right? Whereas like evangelical conservatives or trad cons, along with like fiscal conservatives, are a little bit more friendly with each other. They're a little bit more in a coalition, and so I think you end up seeing two different. You see like a tradcon ortho bro on the same podcast as you see like a fiscal libertarian with some conservative leanings. And so it kind of presents a false idea that the right is more individualistic when the left is equally in that regard, but they're just on two different podcasts because they're not speaking to each other unless they're screaming at each other. And so I think when you combine the element of they probably have more money for talking point distribution on the left, that they're more against each other, so their spaces are a little bit more isolated.
There's one other thing is also the not
and the
talking
philosophy
about
of collectivism. Like I do think you see this
But
more on
it's
the left,
but
but
Damien,
it
it's
still
also
is a
the not
phenomenon
talking
on
about
both.
things. Like, so you just one more quick example that I think will maybe help illustrate that point is like, all right, speaking of the auto pin thing, right? That's come out and people are debating it and discussing it. And like, I'm like, okay, cool. I called that shit. But when I go and look, I've like noticed even in Discords, say like people, the conservative guys will go in like lefty Discord and they'll post it. They'll want to argue about it because, hey, this is something we want to fight about. And the lefties will just be like, they'll try to ignore it. And it's almost like a uniform, we're going to ignore this. And it's crazy because it's like they've already got this disseminated amongst them. It's like, how is this mass thought that we're all doing this? Like they're taking the lead from people online because they have one post about it on Twitter, and then like these people just won't say anything else. When usually they're just like hammering stuff out. And it's almost like the left doesn't know how to play defense or something.
No. So
when you say you called it, what did you call? Like that he was using auto pen, or that like
you just like
it's going
said
to become a
this word
massive
previously.
scandal.
Yeah.
It's going to be massive scandal. I've said it several times in different places.
But you can say that about anything. I can say right now, there's going to be massive scandal in the Trump administration, and then within the next.
Because it's indicative of the larger. Hold on, it's indicative of two things that the Republicans have been sitting here arguing for a while. One is that they don't think Biden was mentally cognizant, and they don't know who was running the office. Right, that is number one. Two,
we never said that we don't know who's running the office.
Hold on. It's two. It's corruption. Right. So these are two things. So whenever we see, hey, there's smoke, there's fire. Now we have physical evidence that something fishy was going on.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Absolutely.
You don't have that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, hold on. I've been wanting to say this since you first brought this auto pen thing up. Because now, each day, we find more and more auto pen signatures from the Trump administration. Now, hundreds of them.
There's a difference. There's a
difference.
Of course.
You ready for the big difference? You ready for the big difference? Trump, for example, when he did the January 6th part of that auto pen, that's what the only lefties argument's been so far. He came out on a speech later that day. It was like, I pardoned him. Frankly, no one pardons more people than the Don. I did it. Fuck the left.
You're getting ahead of it.
Hold on.
You're answering something I didn't say. Hold on. You're shadow boxing now. Because I'm talking about the auto pen signatures.
Let me finish.
From the first term.
He didn't finish.
I didn't finish.
I'm finishing.
I didn't finish before I can finish my sentence. You started interrupting. So let me at least finish it before you destroy it. I'm in the middle of a point that you interrupted.
You just interrupted.
What I'm saying is we're finding out more and more signatures that came out. You're talking about the hundreds of auto pens that were for the January 6th stuff that came out very, very recently.
No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Hold on a second. But before that, there were a bunch of them from the first term that got pointed out, right? Stuff that we didn't know was auto pen that he didn't necessarily talk about, right?
That doesn't matter to my point.
We can, in both cases, very clearly just go to the source because both of these presidents are still alive and say, hey, did you intend to sign these things? And if not,
that's great.
Now, if Biden says no, he can have his own people arrested for doing something that was against his will.
What if he says he can't remember?
Especially the pardon stuff that Trump was pointing out. If he didn't intend to pardon Hunter, then, hey, he can come out and say that. But until then...
Really?
They've been using auto pen since Obama. Okay, so
cool.
No, Bush.
Perfect. Hold on.
Oh, there
Here's
you
the
go.
kicker. This is the whole point. The whole point is that with Trump, we literally have him either on record, either via memo, via I said it in a speech, very whatever, claiming these things. We have otherwise, I know this is a partisan guy, but this adds to the fire. We have Mike Johnson on record saying that Biden didn't know about things that were signed. So one, we know that. Hold on.
So prove it.
We know. Hold on. God damn. This is real simple. We have the barest minimum of preponderance of evidence that Trump can provide, either a memo or a speech or him approving it, versus Biden. Not one person's come forward yet.
You're saying that too soon.
Hold on, let me
still
finish.
finding new
Hold
signatures.
on, let me finish. Hold on. There's one person has come forward with a thing saying, hey, here's a memo, or here's Biden saying it. In fact, we have evidence to the opposite. We have evidence from whistleblowers saying he wasn't cognizant from day one. We have Mike Johnson on record saying he didn't know what he was doing, didn't know he signed. And we have evidence that Biden wasn't even in the same city when this stuff was signed by AutoPen. Hold on. Yes, Mike, cool. I know it's partisan.
Mike Johnson wasn't there for day one.
Hold on. This is once again, Mike Johnson said in an interview, he talked to Biden, asked Biden directly about certain pardons and certain executive orders, and Biden said, quote, I don't know anything about these things. So that's on record. We have this. And third, finally,
that's not on record. That's
don't take them to court.
It is on record. So
Don't
third, we have him in another
Gibbs,
state.
can I ask you a question?
1 second. Let me just finish on the last one. We have him in another state where he was signed. They didn't sign anything there. We don't know how did he get something signed in Washington. There's a different location. There's no paper trail. There's no paper trail between him and there authorizing it. We don't have anybody cooperating that he offered it. There's no witnesses. There's no. It's basically just it's fraud. It's forgery, and it's elder abuse at minimum.
Hey, Gibbs, let me ask you a question, man. I'm just curious because I love a good conspiracy theory as much as the next guy.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
But isn't the AutoPen limited in what can be signed via AutoPen? I mean, you shouldn't be able to sign a pardon, for example, with AutoPen. That should be hand signed.
Why? Okay, let me ask you. Does it fundamentally matter what they sign?
Why would it not be the case? Because the president actually signs it and it is witnessed, correct?
Well, so if
just like when I go sign, all right. Let me draw that. Let me draw. Hold on. Let me draw the parallel. I can sign most of the financial documents to buy a house via DocuSign. I can't sign the mortgage papers via DocuSign because it has to be notarized and witnessed. That's why I think it matters if these things are auto-pin, if they're auto-pinning actual official documents, that's a problem.
Yeah, they're doing it, as far as I know, it's official documents, but like I don't think anything that the president has to be notarized. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah,
but I don't think
the president does.
Well, I'm sure somebody has to countersign it, right?
No, why would they? He's the president.
What do you mean? Why would they?
The vice president.
Have you dealt with the government?
But
they want everything
about the president. Have you dealt with the president? The president signs the laws, but no one else has to double sign it with them.
He's literally watched it all times. Like why would
the Uber president?
The Uber president. Yeah, there's no one.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be isn't it signed beforehand and witnessed? Because then anybody can sign it. I'm the president.
Signed by who? And he doesn't have to be witnessed.
Speaker of the House. Something like that.
No.
As a witness,
House provides
Secretary of State, maybe.
No, there is no. As far as I know,
I'm just asking questions. I don't know. I'm asking you. I mean, it doesn't seem like you're taking this very seriously. It sounds like you're just dismissing it out of hand.
Seriously. I don't know why you think I'm not. I'm answering the questions directly.
Do you have something?
There is no. One second.
Yeah, I do have an answer.
Yeah, but there is no with Congress. Congress sends the law, right? But right, he can. The president can sign it without anyone in the room. There's no requirement for them to the
how we know
head of the Senate or the head of the House,
especially with
the Speaker of the House, to be there, or the Vice President to be there. You can just sign it. But Scott,
I don't know that. So Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, so Prime is right here, right? Which is that the president, nothing the president signs has to be notarized, because. And this is as pursuant to the Constitution, because the president himself is the authority, right? And this is kind of probably what you could say is a flaw, right, of the Constitution, because it's not written for a time when DocuSign exists, right? It's the president himself is the authority. Now, you could maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see what
Although
happens with
Jefferson did
courts,
have
right?
a similar device, just to say. I
This
think you
is a
might be aware of it.
DocuSign, though. This is
Okay,
a
but-
DocuSign. That's a big problem right there. It's
Okay,
not the same.
hear me, hold on, Admiral Gibbs, relax, right?
Good.
Yeah, so what there is an issue. We'll have to see what the courts see in terms of their interpretation, because I don't think this is something really like up in air. I don't know if there's any case law. I wish someone that had a little bit more understanding of that was here, but I have not heard from any of the pundits any case law that tackles this issue specifically in terms of his authority being present. It's kind of an assumption that that's because he's signing it, so he doesn't need a witness or someone else to do it. The question here is not about whether or not DocuSign or AutoPen or anything else is something that is allowed on signing laws into bill, right? The question is it true or is it not true that Biden was aware of this and was signing these things of his own volition and understanding?
Issue.
Or did someone else, kind of just go, okay, you have a speech to give, go up on the stage, and then some unelected or some appointed person was, working, to, put in pardons, when the only things that we have thus far from Biden publicly is statements that he would never pardon any of these people and that he wouldn't do that. Now, I would assume if we ask Biden now, in his moments of like lucidity, right, that he would almost certainly say, oh yeah, sure, I will pardon those people, because he's a partisan and he's always been a partisan, right? And so, I don't know that you could necessarily say that Mike Johnson's interviews are technically hearsay, because he heard it from the claim is not I heard it from a friend that something else happened. It would be Biden told me this, right? So that would just be witness testimony, not hearsay per se. But it is, of course, witness testimony, which is only as reliable as the source and only as reliable as human memory, which is flawed. But I do think it probably does merit some investigation. I'm very, and we should probably have the Trump administration should probably say at the very minimum, yeah, we're not using AutoPen anymore. We're not using those things. These are official laws. They should be signed by pen and start that as a new precedent.
I'll give a little space here. Maybe Gibbs will accept this. Okay, right? One, that and you've already heard me say this before. Right? I agree that Biden has his mind was degrading, right? And I agree with you. The Democrats lied and lied and lied about that. Fair enough, right? That includes the upper brass, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, his entire executive team, right? His counselors surrounding him. They specifically kept others away. So there were other rank and file Democrats who were trying to get time with Biden, and they kept him away because he wasn't always lucid, and they couldn't trust that he wouldn't embarrass himself. So I'm with you there, Gibbs. Okay, right? So we're not fighting on that. Definitely we're not, right? The thing that I'm pushing back on is specifically this idea that AutoPen is nefarious, right, in and of itself.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, hold on. But just let me finish this, right? So that AutoPen is in itself nefarious, and that there is necessarily a difference, on its face, between the way Trump has used this and Biden's used it. On the other hand, though, because, like I just said, I admit that there are times where it wasn't lucid. That means it's not impossible that the situation that you're describing, right? That maybe someone else, maybe his wife, decided to pardon Hunter Biden, right? And then she used the AutoPen power. We have literally an example in American history where the wife took over, right, for the husband when he was
FDR.
This has actually happened before in real life. So, if you're saying there are very specific
and Wilson
documents,
Wilson, sorry,
very specific documents that might have not been intended to sign by the president, okay, then I'll give you that much. That might be the case, and we need to investigate that. I'm not saying that we have any proof yet. I'm still waiting on that, but we're willing to investigate that. But just the use of it by itself is like fine, it's whatever.
No, I even have less of a problem with AutoPin than Grid does, right? Like I don't see a problem if a president says I pardon these people, and he used AutoPin to do it, and there was 200 people he's pardoning. I don't expect him to sit there and fucking sign 200 pardons. Like that's ridiculous. Why would I need to do
Especially
that?
with Trump's signature. Have you seen that shit?
Sure.
It's ridiculous.
And then so on the flip side, I'll even accept. Say the president is flying over the Pacific Ocean for a conference or something, and he goes, "Oh, I need to get something signed in Washington." I don't have a problem with him sending.
That was the case with Obama.
Going, hey, sure, right, and I don't have a problem with that because Obama gave us a paper trail, and he said, "Okay, I expressly want this done. Can you get it done?" I don't have a problem with that, and not only do I not have a problem with the notary, because the president's the most watched man on earth. Because guess what? It's all going into archives, so we all know it's being watched. Now, this is the problem I have: is the consent issue. We know he's got to have like cognitive decline. It's kind of what you're saying. We also, I want to know who's doing this.
What's the diagnosis?
If it's not Biden, if it's not Biden. Hold on. We're not speculating. We know we have many reports now. It was clear
you
as
have
day.
medical records. You have something
It was clear as Corey, stop. Don't even try. Like we know. Like this.
That's what you need. That's the bar.
Shh. Listen, we saw millions of Americans saw him in decline. We all suspect it. Maybe we don't have definitive proof, but that's why we want an investigation. And I don't think it's unreasonable when they can't even provide just the barest minimum evidence, which is like a memo. I'm asking for a memo for a few, like a good portion of these. Like maybe if they don't find every memo for all the pardons, sure. But like, why can't they provide any evidence that shows that he wanted this done? Suspicious.
Didn't we set a precedent that the president can declassify things in his mind without telling anybody, and that's enough for declassification, right? Do we need a paper trail for that now suddenly?
I don't know about
no.
I don't know about we.
He said that. The person who's making this claim, who sits in the White House right now, made that claim about himself, that he could just think about declassifying it, and that declassifies it, that there doesn't need to be any paper trail.
That's
right.
That's a whataboutism, right? Like it's like, look,
I can hate
Trump and still think. But I can hate. Well, okay, there are a lot of people making the claim, not just Trump. Like I can hate Trump and still think that this is an issue. So like I agree with you that is a separate debatable point, but it's not relevant to.
But I'm going to.
I'm not.
No, it is relevant because I'm not going where you think I'm going with this. I'm going in the other direction. I'm saying, yeah, let's do this. Let's require a paper trail in every case, which means we should require a paper trail for Trump in his case. I think we should investigate what the capacity of Biden was and at what point. And I think we need to do the exact same thing. But what the people who need to do it need to be independent of the White House. We need to do the exact same thing with Trump. I think we need to investigate in both directions on all of these issues.
That doesn't make sense, right?
I'm not using a whataboutism to say don't investigate. I'm saying investigate.
No, the claim is very simple, right? Is that I won't make the claim, right? So please know that I'm not necessarily making this claim, but potentially, right? Biden was not of mind and of the reason or the mental capacity to be, an acting president, and that he had handlers, and that his handlers, for what we need to investigate said handlers and their signing of pardons, because they very well may have had nefarious motives for pardoning people to ensure that investigations and things didn't occur.
And orders.
Right now,
and do
saying,
that going forward with all presidents. I'm saying do that, but let's also do that currently.
Hold on.
Let it be a precedent.
Hold on. That's fine. But in order for your claim to be relevant to this conversation, you would have to be claiming that Trump is not in control and unaware of what is going on with his signatures, and that Trump is in a cognitive decline and incapable of having enough reason. I'm saying
I'm not the arbiter in either case.
We can make
I'm
that
saying
argument,
we need to have an independent person in both cases, and in cases of presidents going from here on going forward, someone who can't be picked by the person being investigated, right? It can't just be man, person, woman, camera, TV. It's got to be like something a little bit more exhaustive that's going to actually give us a real answer that we can trust. And I wouldn't trust a Biden person to investigate Biden, and I wouldn't trust a Trump person to investigate Trump. I'm saying
that's fine, but it's still a distraction from whether or not the issue occurred, right? Like you're moved past whether or not the issue has occurred and subverted it to a decision of like what we ought to do in the future.
Because I'm saying if we're going to do this, let's make it something that's going to be useful going forward and not just somebody's political tool. And we can say, let's set up this independent office that investigates every president for mental competency. I mean, I've been saying this.
I mean, maybe, but the problem is like, the entire idea of like an independent, council
I know, it's hard.
commission is like such a meme because they never are, right?
Right. I understand.
Yeah. And now you'd be giving an independent commission over the president themselves, right? Over the elected president, you now have this other where does that now is the ultimate arbiter of power in the United States is what
we do this already, in the olden times when a ship's captain had the authority over the ship, right? Unless the ship's medical doctor decided that he was incompetent, like there was somebody who was independent of that,
like on Star Trek, But y'all hate y'all want to advocate running the government like a ship, but y'all hate when they run a government like a business. Oh yeah, makes sense.
I'm saying you want. I'm saying this is good for you.
That's
this is good for you because it gets you what you want.
I'm not shitting on your idea, but so much. I'm just saying, like you got to be aware of what it is that you're actually arguing, right?
Yeah, I know.
Which is that some independent council, presumably independent, right, is now the ultimate arbiter of power in the United States.
In this one narrow issue, yes.
That would. In this one narrow issue, sure, right? But in the issue of they have the power to completely undo the presidency.
Well, it already exists.
That is a fundamentally new.
It's not fundamentally new. It already exists. It's in the 24th Amendment. The only difference is the president gets to pick those people who have that ability to determine him incompetent,
then it is,
which makes them.
Then it is an independent, right? It's by
that's
the
my point.
choice.
That's my point. It exists in a way that's not independent now. So let's take that same power, which is not new, and make it more independent than what it is now. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, like I look forward to you drafting the new constitution for the new government. Maybe it will be better.
I mean, the minute they call me, I'll get working on it.
You know what I mean? But like that's a pretty big proposal that I think gets away from whether what the issue of Biden.
I mean, I think it's within the fiat power of any given debate, right? That we can consider these things, especially given that we live in a democracy and ultimately it's up to us to decide how we want our government run. And one of the ways in which I want it to be run is I don't want every investigatory body to be fired by the person who's being investigated. I think that's like fundamentally corrupt. We have to have some way, even if it's difficult, even if it's not going to be perfect, we have to have some way of making the system less corrupt. We can't just throw our hands up and say it's hard.
I mean, I don't want to detract too much. I would just say that the system itself is inherently corrupt by being a violation.
Yeah, that's why I would think of all
there is
all
no
people
solution here other than just other than getting rid of the state, not more state checks and balances. But fair enough.
So like I agree with you, Scott, in terms of like you could say this independent council will be the ultimate power in this specific narrow sense, but the narrow sense is whether the president was sane to actually do anything else, right?
Right. It's like it's like this specific niche thing, which is everything.
I hear you. But like why I'm responding positively to Doobie, I see your hand up. We'll go to you next. The reason why I'm responding what'd you say?
I was just apologizing to Doobie because we both raised our hands around the same time.
Oh, okay, sorry. I responding positively to this is that like this seems to be a political football that can be tossed around, and that there's like no particular way to like adjudicate this, right? Like we have first of all, we already have like a presidential like fitness test that people they're supposed to do, right? Like if the president's not fit, well then I don't know, I guess send it down to the vice president. But like that's like but the thing is, like, what if the doctor is in the president's pocket, right? I don't know if there's an answer to this, right? I don't know, like, like fucking Ronnie Jackson. Remember that guy?
What if corporations are in the pockets of politicians? What if since we're throwing out what ifs while we're at it, you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I'm saying that, like, because when we're dealing with the highest level of government, right? At some point, like, there is. At some point, you're just stacking like authority on top of authority, right? When there just needs to be a person in charge, and you just kind of have to go with it. At some point, you're just creating more bureaucracy without actually solving the problem. You're just creating new points of conflicts of interest. Yeah, so like I hear you. But like I feel like if we're gonna make this a big deal. Right? If we're going to make this a big deal and say that something needs to be done, well, then like we have to start like proposing solutions to that, right? Or just admit that there is no solution and just like, I don't know, man. Like I hope he was competent.
Try them all.
I hope it was good. And until like maybe like Biden walks out like like naked with just a robe on, right? Into the White House lawn.
Of all scenarios. All see
at the same time that maybe he's falling apart. Unless something like that happens, I don't know, man. Hopefully he doesn't like fuck around with the nukes, whatever. So let's go to our friend Doobie.
So I wasn't aware of this auto pen thing before Gibbs brought it up. So while you guys have been talking, I've been looking into it, and it really does feel like a manufacturer scandal meant to just catch attention and pull attention away from other more important things that have been happening. Like I think the Republicans right now are taking a lot of shit for the Mahmoud Khalil attempted deportation. I think there's a ton of other stuff going on. Well, I think with the Alien Enemies Act being imposed or being used to deport people, I think there's a lot going on right now, and this seems like such a small thing. We don't even know if this is an actual problem because for all we know, Biden gave the okay for whatever the fuck pardons were there. But we do know that Trump is doing all this other shit that is really that I think is really bad, that people should be talking about. And he throws out this bullshit on Truth Social, whatever the fuck, to distract everybody away from these more important issues. I think a lot of what we found in this term, like the last term, is that it's just like scandal after scandal after scandal, and at some point you lose track of them, right? Because there's just so much shit happening all the time, and it's like a shock and awe kind of thing. Right? It's just like never-ending bullshit that you need to keep track of. And the media is just throwing it all out there, one thing after another. They give very little attention to each individual thing. So by the time you before you have a chance to really look into and address the first thing, there are 10 scandals on the road, right? And you got to keep up with that somehow. So this really does feel like nothing, right? So
come on, that's unbelievable.
It seems like bullshit, like Gibbs. So do you really believe that if Biden were to be sat down and spoken to today, he would say, no, I didn't give them, I didn't know about these pardons. I didn't know about these executive orders I was signing. No, even if he didn't know, genuinely, he would say he did. Right? Just sort of
that may or may not be true.
To save face for whoever the fuck put these things in front of him. So I think it's really a nothing burger, right? When we know for a fact that Trump's doing all, like Gibbs, what do you think about the Mahmoud Khalil deportation?
Well, okay, I'll answer that, but I want to say why I think it's not a nothing burger real quick. And this is something because I don't think you understand how, like, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't think that you understand the how important it is to the current Republicans, like voter base. They feel like there's a bureaucracy that's been corrupt and nasty, and they want it gutted. They want it gutted. They want it cleaned out. That's why they have Doge. That's why we're calling for investigations into this, because we think there's corruption, and we think it's at the highest level, all the way down, and we want it investigated because we think they put up a puppet president. That's what we think. Now, as for the Mohammed Khalil thing, yeah, I like some of the precedents are pretty not good, I will say. I'm on two minds in this. On one side, I think that legal aliens should be able to speak freely. They are legal aliens. We guarantee the right of speech. I think legal aliens should have most of the rights of citizens, not all. There are special rights reserved for citizens that legal aliens don't get. However, on the flip side, I do think that a country if you're a legal alien, should be able to revoke your legal alien status. That's the benefit of being a citizen and not being legal alien, right? Because that the country can revoke your status.
That gives us fine,
kick you
but
out.
I think the reality
as
is
far as
that you talked about that they put a puppet into power, whatever the fuck with Biden. But I think this is yet another example of our government, Trump, and his administration acting as a puppet government for fucking Israel. Right? The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act didn't get off the ground. It failed because they went too far in trying to label anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism, and cracking down on college campuses that way. So instead, they're going after individual protesters who have free speech rights in this country as green card holders and trying to deport them. Right? I'm sure to
I'm not
push some
arguing
kind of
that you're not
chilling
correct in
effect.
that.
Hold on. Well, if you're not going to argue that I'm not correct, well then, like, why?
They're totally different situations. Like I can
Why,
criticize
like,
Trump and say
these are
this
not
is not
totally
right.
different situations. This
absolutely totally
hold on, going
different
after Mahmoud Khalil, who does have free speech rights in the United States, free speech protections in the U.S. as a green card holder, is for opinions, for fucking opinions. They haven't laid out a single law that he's broken. So they're going after him for opinions that they disagree with for whatever fucking reason. That it's totally legal for him to have these opinions and to protest and take part in the activity he took part in. So the fact that they're saying, oh, well, now if you do this thing that is totally illegal, that you have free speech protection to do, we're going to revoke your fucking citizen status or your permanent resident status.
Well, hold on.
That's fucking
Well,
ridiculous.
hold on. Well, do you think that if like Osama bin Laden had been here,
you're a little bit off.
Hold on, one second. I want to respond to that.
Misinformation here, right?
But
let me just interject this one point. I won't give like my whole opinion on it. Just this one correction. That hinges upon whether or not you believe he's deserving a due process, etc. But that does hinge upon whether or not he actually is a representative of the organization that took over portions of Colombia. If he was a go-between protest groups that violated law. Now, it gets a little weird because if they're supporting Hamas in doing so, which many of them were, and there were pamphlets there and there were chants there, right, then you could say that he is an inadmissible alien and he loses his rights because he swore not to do such as a green card holder by making himself a representative, an officer, official, or spokesman of which he absolutely was, of an organization that was engaged in or induces terrorist activity. I think it's pretty easy to say that if a group is saying we're for Hamas, we're for Hezbollah in many chants, and they take over private property, that at the very least they're inducing, terrorist activity in that regard. And so Trump could make that argument. Whether or not that person is given due process, etc. Like, you can totally make that argument. I'm not saying like get rid of the guy. That's not what I'm saying. My opinion is, but to say that like this is an open and shut case, and that there isn't any case law that gives this a constitutional basis is just.
Going further with that,
very quickly, Scott.
supporting the pro-Palestinian League is supporting communism, and that is in direct violation of being a guest in our country. Actually.
What?
You guys are so
There are American citizens who are communists. It's fine to be a communist in the United States.
The Internal Security Act of 1950 amended the Immigration Act of 1918 by adding new grounds of exclusion specific to members of communist or totalitarian parties, affiliates of such group, and to aliens who advocate the doctrines of world communism or any other form of totalitarianism. So if he did that, and it sure seems like he does, then he's out.
Well, hold on. What are you referring to? Because so far as I know, green card holders can be communists.
That is to get a green card, you cannot be part of a communist regime.
At the time of getting the green card, or after you get the green card? When you're applying, or afterwards?
Before you get it.
Okay. Do you have any evidence he was a member of some communist organization?
Was he espousing pro-Palestine policies?
That isn't pro-Palestine.
Communist.
What are you talking about?
The pro-Palestinian League is a communist organization.
Communist, but
okay,
it is a communist organization.
Communist,
being realistic now. So there are far more. More people.
You guys keep stretching. You guys are making reaches like freaking Michael
just
Phelps
come
here.
up with some random.
It doesn't matter.
bullshit
All
out
it
of
matters
nowhere,
is that he
okay?
broke
Trying to
the
link
law
the
and they put him
pro-Palestine
out.
movement to
That's the end of it.
communism,
Why do you got to
as
argue
if the
about
vast
that?
majority of
He didn't.
people who are like
He didn't break a law.
pro-Palestine
They didn't say he
aren't just
did.
opposed to genocide, right? And are trying to like push some fucking communism onto the world or some shit is ridiculous, right? The vast majority of people who support this movement are not communists.
Look, you're
His
grappling
lawyer,
with
his
saying
lawyer,
that
his
he had
lawyer
free
just got him a
speech, but he, in
trial. His
fact, does
lawyer
not
just got
have
him a
free
trial
speech.
under habeas corpus because they didn't try him under anything. They were literally just going to grab
Right?
him.
They don't
and
need
kick
to
him out of the country.
try him.
They
don't need to
He's a
try
green
him.
card holder. He's
No, they do
married to
not.
an American. Yes, he is. He's a green
They can
card
rescind
holder.
it the minute
He
the minute he endorses communism or any totalitarian
bullshit.
You have
regime.
to have a trial for that. We don't know
is
that he did.
totalitarianism. It's Hamas. It's a terrorist
What is
organization.
totalitarianism to you?
Why? This is this. I don't understand where you guys are even
You're in
coming from.
favor of kicking green card holders out of the country who are married to American citizens for having political opinions that you dislike. That's
Yeah,
that's.
Well,
And you're
did
talking
you
about
read
totalitarian.
the cleric that was an
When they
agitator?
sign the document, they agree not to do it.
Which
Yeah,
document?
say you
What
had
are you
a
talking about?
say you had a cleric. Hold on, let me just.
Are you purposely being dense?
No, I'm asking you
No,
which.
I
document,
think you
because so far
are,
as I
but
know,
okay.
A green card holder.
I
Well, you
just
have to know
read
every other
you.
specific. How about bring up the specific document that he had to sign?
You're just associating communism with the pro-Palestine movement for some fucking reason.
Because
And
it is
and
a
quite
pro-communist
specifically too.
movement.
You knew how to
And
say that real
a
specifically.
totalitarianism
Tell
regime.
your chat to give you the document that they
It's
signed.
Hamas. It's totalitarian.
I don't have my.
Hold on.
I can't see my
just-
chat right now. I'm
Let
sorry.
me just throw out a hypothetical,
What
right?
gives you think?
Say
Do you think Hamas is a communist regime? Like,
No, they're a
I'm sorry?
totalitarian regime. But like, let me
Yeah,
just use
it
Hamas,
says
okay?
or totalitarianist, but I do believe they're communist.
Right. If you have a cleric, right, that's a foreign national, right, but they're a legal alien here, and they're going and they are purposely going. Say they're married to I don't know Consuelo, right? And she's an American citizen, and he goes and he is starting like protests, and some of these protests turn violent, or you go to a lot of anti-American protests that are chanting "Death to America," whatever. Do you not think that the U.S. government should have the ability to be like, okay, yeah, you haven't technically broke a law, but you are causing disruptions within our society, and you're here at our pleasure? Like, do you don't think that that's a something they should be able to do?
I think if you're a green card holder and you have free speech protections, you can go out and say anti-American shit all you want because you have free speech.
So when do we start looking at when do we start looking at like children of immigrants and being like, hey, you guys are only here because your parents are here? Like, I'm a first generation immigrant, right? My parents are Lebanese. I'm Lebanese. I hold dual citizenship. Matter of fact.
Well, that's called anchor babies.
I mean, no, it's not called an anchor baby. My parents came here, got citizenship, and had me. So fuck you. And then now,
well,
so what? Yeah, I know, but like I'm just telling you. So, like, how far does this extend? Because right now it's like green card holders that are married that are what. So what happens when it's like first generation kids? Like, oh well, you guys aren't even really American. You have to be 3 generations in before you can consider yourself to have civil rights and liberties.
That's the argument that we're having, though.
But this is the slippery slope that's coming. Is that you guys just wanted us to be okay?
Now y'all want to worry about the slippery slope. That's rich.
Hold on, listen. You can. I'm not a leftist. You can't talk to me about any of
you
these.
guys are dancing around the actual issue. You're dancing around.
Exactly
no, I'm really not.
As a green card holder, sure, you have constitutional protection for free speech unless you violate your status.
No,
if you
and then you have a trial to find out that we violated
ideals or supporting totalitarianist regimes.
No.
You have to have you are a citizen.
You don't know that he did that.
Grid. You have to have a trial to determine that. Now, Grid. I'm gonna give you a little credit. I'm gonna give you a little credit here, right?
No, you don't.
Sure.
I wish you did, but you don't. The Patriot Act changed that.
Oh no! Oh, okay. Well, let me talk about that in a second.
Another reason to hate the Patriot Act, but
let
like
me
that
talk
is
about
the
that
law.
in a second. Then, okay. Let me talk about that in a second.
I just asked you if you were sure.
Grid,
because I was going to say the Patriot
Act. I admit that you are correct as far as I'm aware of, right? That specifically in terms of the Communist Party, right? In terms of like
and totalitarian
the Communist Party, that I haven't heard of totalitarian, but like the Communist Party at least. I'm not sorry. I'm not trying to fight you, buddy. I'm just like trying to give you credit here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that like my understanding is that is specifically the one party that if you support, that puts you in jeopardy of your immigration status, right? That if anyone tries to join, that we specifically outlawed that way back when. So there's that. So, if he supported communism, that would be a violation. Now, I'm not sure where the violation comes in, right? Because I think Duby was trying to make this distinction, whether it comes in during like while you're a visa holder and then you can't get the green card. I mean, I know that much, right? At the very least, but I'm not sure if like once you get the green card,
you don't get you don't get a trial if you violate your green card. You do get a trial if you violate your green card.
Okay, yeah. So if at that point, once you have a green card, at that point, that also counts as something that would invalidate the green card if you already have it. I'm just saying I just don't know. But I hear you at least on that narrow point. But again, the supporting the Palestinian cause is not a support for communism, right? I have no problem supporting communism, but like that in itself isn't supporting communism. I wish I could get all these people to consider
Taylorism or
Prime, I think you gave him credit in a different way, but I'm going to give him a different kind of credit because actually I cited the law that says that you can't just by virtue of being communist lose your green card status in that way. However, I think there's maybe another way in which this can be debated, because one of the exceptions, and I think it is the Patriot Act that talks about this, is that if you're deemed a national security threat, then arguably under the Patriot Act, you could lose your green card status. So, and I don't know 100% whether that's fully resolved, but it wouldn't be for being communist. Being a communist is not. It's once you have a green card status, they can't say, "Oh, you're a member of the Communist Party and now you're a threat to the United States." That doesn't follow, and that's something that goes way back to 1957. That was the case that I just posted in the in our group DM so that you guys can look at.
I just want to say, like when you look up, so I gave you guys the reference and told you to search in the group chat for representative, right? There is an example of what would make you under terrorist activities, what would make you inadmissible for green card status and lose your green card status. And the example they give is, quote, an alien who is an officer, official, representative, or spokesperson of the Palestine Liberation Organization is considered for purposes of this chapter to be engaged in terrorist activity. Now, he is a officer and or representative, not of PLO, as far as we can tell, but of groups in America that are chanting from the river to the sea, that took over portions of Columbia campus, that were chanting things that were in support of Hamas. Now, I am not for, personally, right, and my ideology, I am not for deporting anyone unless they committed some type of property crime. And I would prefer, almost demand, that they have legal due process to determine if they were a party to that. And he is currently denying that he ever represented, though it seems kind of like bullshit from what we can see, that he was a representative of one of the organizations, just the other organization. And if an investigation showcases that he was an officer of someone that was, of the group that was taking over portions of campus and was in support of Hamas, it's not really arguable whether or not Trump.
Well, Hamas isn't even the PLO, though. Is the Hamas?
No. I'm saying that's just
also what does support of Hamas mean? What does support of Hamas mean?
Isn't like, yeah. So like as
because if you're pro-Palestinian, everyone's saying you're pro-Hamas. So like, what's the difference at this point?
It's totally different.
Okay, no. Specifically at Columbia, they were chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine.
Someone was.
Right?
That's not pro-Hamas.
That isn't pro-Hamas.
Yeah, okay. I didn't say that specifically was right. I'm answering.
But you're citing it when we said what's pro-Hamas, and you were citing it.
Stop! Don't ask a question and then immediately interrupt.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the right. So that was one thing. They were taking over property. There were flyers that were pro-Hamas. There were other Hamas slogans.
What does flyers that are pro-Hamas mean?
Yeah, but Scott, were those
flyers that are literally saying to support Hamas? Again, I said that there ought to be an investigation to determine whether or not that is or that isn't true.
Them taking over buildings doesn't support Hamas.
No shit, Sherlock, but it is a property rights violation, and it could be considered terrorist activities if you are taking over private property for the purposes of quote unquote protest for organizations that are terrorist organizations. Again, I said again, I'm only speaking descriptively and I'm showing you the law. My personal opinion is that they need proof of property.
I'm telling you, the laws being applied really obtusely when we can't even on this panel agree to what's pro-Hamas, what's not, and then we realize right now that everything that's pro-Palestinian
I think most of us agree. I think that you
three of you agree. Three of you agree.
Maybe
that's not most of us.
I don't. The
rest of us
I don't think there's any
Exactly.
you're adding confusion to my answer, right? I am speaking descriptively about what the law states, and if he is. If they have evidence to showcase that he was indeed supporting Hamas and was supporting terrorist activity in some regard by taking over the buildings and trying to get support for Hamas, get, let's say, funding or laws change in that regard, then he would file under someone that loses green card status. I think he ought to have due process to determine that.
Wait, hold on. Can I ask a couple questions actually? So Grid.
Yeah.
So let's say he's an organizer for these political organizations, right, on this campus, and he shows he gives speeches, he does the organizing, he's a go-between between these groups, and with some of these protests, like with any protest, crazies show up, the extremists show up at all these protests, and some of these people have these signs that are not produced by the organization, they're produced by individuals that show up for the protests. Do you think he should still be deported?
Yes.
Some random individual?
Yes.
Why?
Because he organized it and presented the opportunity for that to happen, which violates his green card.
You can't actually believe that.
That's silly because that's the same thing. Hold on, that's the same thing as when the right does a protest and there's some fucking white supremacist there, and then the left says if there's a Nazi flag there, it's a Nazi protest, and it's no, dude, there was some fucking Nazis there.
You presented the opportunity for a Nazi to come in and take over your rally.
If you're presenting a pro-Palestine protest.
Yeah.
And
but that's not.
So what's your argument for J6ers?
Hold on. En masse, most of the people are participating in not only chanting but also destroying property, as Fabian said, and
not
all of these other
people,
things.
But anyways,
if you organize that, most of
the J6ers participated in destroying property.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they had
most of the J6ers were participated in destroying property.
They did not.
What about all the J6ers?
Property, and we have videos.
Most of them did. I'm saying most of them did. Just like you're saying, most of the protesters did.
We have video of them actually doing.
We have video proof of them going into the buildings too.
Hold on.
I can only wait for one person at a time.
Hold on. I posted definitive proof. Apparently, he was found. There was a UN program that was found guilty of working with Hamas and stripped of most of their funding after October 7th.
Okay.
And he was part of this group.
So yes,
therefore, if he was part of this group, then he falls under the act.
A UN program?
Hold on. So he's talking about UNRWA, right? Which Israel arbitrarily labeled like a terrorist organization or Hamas supporting organization because they found a handful of other employees that were also working with Hamas. Well, this organization's thousands of fucking people. It's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, so he's part of it, though, right?
That's
Is
okay.
he part of it?
Not only is it ridiculous.
So, how much smoke do you need before there's fire, guys? If he's part of an organization, he's creating
how much smoke?
part of that protest.
We say the same thing about Israel, right? We say the same thing about Israel, and you guys just laugh. How much smoke do you need till there's fire? AIPAC owns your president. Now what? It's the same thing, man. You guys keep using the same arguments, but then when we use the argument, you guys laugh. But you guys want to use the argument on us. The hypocrisy.
This guy's caught red-handed.
The hypocrisy is sickening.
So hold on, Gibbs. So the reality is that when he was working with UNRWA, which is not a pro-Hamas organization, but when he was, it was not even labeled that by Israel yet, right? It was in November 2023. It hadn't even been labeled that by Israel yet, and it is currently, so far as I know, unless something has changed, still not labeled a terrorist organization or a pro-Hamas organization by the United States or anybody else but fucking Israel, Israel, right? So why the fuck would you parrot their bullshit? It's obviously bullshit.
I mean, how convenient.
How do you mean how convenient? What do you mean how convenient?
Yeah, how convenient.
When did you vote for Netanyahu to be your president? When did you vote for Netanyahu to be your president, Gibbs?
The guy's a malcontent. He's here at the American government's pleasure. We reserve the right
to vote for Biden.
It's clear that he had to go.
Thank you.
Gibbs,
Thank
that's
you.
ridiculous.
Hold on. If you have a band and a riot starts at the place where you're at, are you put on trial for having the riot start?
One second.
Are you like in trouble?
Just quickly before we can answer that question in a second. PTX Plebe, thank you on YouTube super chat, getting $5, much appreciated, saying being pro-Palestine is the new McCarthyism of our time, just like the Palmer raids were. I don't remember the Palmer raids, man. I'm sure Aiko could tell me about them at some point.
Very quick interjection on that super chat. I have a wonderful video that you should check out on my channel called called McCarthy Did Nothing Wrong, because McCarthy is an American hero. Now so yes,
of course he is.
I love
actually,
that's only gives me a positive.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out for sure. I actually meant to.
How does the Congress committee same criteria for
un-American
riots?
activities? Yeah. The Un-American Activities Committee, they did some fucked up shit, but McCarthy himself is a fucking hero, and they.
I would support.
How does your guys' characterization of like riots or
going after AIPAC for sure?
No, okay. How does like your guys' characterization of like riots or protesters, or like the fact that the leader of a protest should be held to the like a riot that happened just because he organized it? How come that applies? How come that applies to this? Because it's like, because you guys see the group as terrorists, but it doesn't apply to January 6ers. They were supposed to be peaceful. They weren't. There was an organization. The president set it up, and it gave the opportunity for these people to do that. Like, it literally applies to your own thing that you defend.
He didn't have his.
He didn't have what? He organized
the Capitol building, did he? No. Okay.
So nobody organized people to go to the Capitol building.
I can answer that actually.
Oh, yeah,
so the first one, very simple. The first one that's very simple is that we're talking about citizens versus non-citizens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, we're looking at the logic of whether or not it's violent, et cetera, or terrorist activity, right? So in this specific regard, when
wait, before
hold on,
I just want to look if you can look into the organizer of the organizer of the event and fault them. Okay, cool. I'll understand.
Right. So there is a substantive difference between organizing a protest and then the protest becomes violent. So what do we need to do? We need to go, did the organizer know or plan on violence occurring? Now, there's a difference here, because with the individual we're talking about, he maintained himself as a representative while they still had property under control, that they were engaged in violence. They were engaged in private property and in maintaining private property, keeping people from going to their classes, keeping a portion under control.
Well, and that's not violence.
Kept himself right. That's absolutely violence if you're taking over private property.
Well, according to
say
him,
it's not punching.
It's not private property,
it's not
right?
Assault. It's not
for him. It is violence. Right. For Fabian, this.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. For him, it's fine. I know him talking to. I'm very much aware of.
All right, cool.
So you're saying trespassing is so intentional trespassing and then barring people entry to property is a non-violent crime by your definition?
I think it's a crime, but yeah, I would say non-violent. Yeah, I would absolutely say that is a non-violent crime. Not that it's not a crime, but a non-violent one. But whatever.
It's totally within the bounds of
regardless.
Very, very common protest activity, political protest
very
activity,
common protest
encampments,
activity,
sit-ins.
Yeah, well, I would say it's if it's private property, it's violence as far as I'm concerned. But if you have a different definition, that's fine. The substantive difference here, right, is whether or not someone, when these acts are occurring, right, which is the takeover of the property that we're talking about, right? There's a difference between a leader leading a protest and then the protest gets out of control, or like I said, if you were to find evidence that they planned to do violence, right, that would be different, right? But what we're talking about here in this instance is someone that is a representative or officer of the group, right? That while that is occurring, that means that they're aware of that and that they hold themselves a representative. Again, I am only speaking descriptively. That doesn't mean I support this deportation.
We agree
without the investigation.
Oh, good. Do you agree that he should be deported by the current?
No. Wait. I didn't think he was finished. I thought he was just going to continue his point. But like,
he's got to be deported.
What?
Yeah,
well, no, you were asking what the difference between A versus B was, and that's that in terms of.
If
like,
you agree, then you agree. That
I'm sorry. Then I missed the difference because to me there's still no difference. There was someone who organized an event. That organized event had violence within organized event.
No. There's a difference between organizing an event and there's violence there. versus a event gets violent and then you maintain yourself as a leader of an organization that is currently committing crime.
He
you're
pardoned
representing
them.
them.
But hold on. But like
he pardoned
Scott,
them. Doesn't that him maintaining like some type of like?
No, that's not going to count.
I'm literally asking.
Scott,
I'm not
Scott,
trying to be like.
If anything, you could say that him maintaining his position as a leader was to de-escalate the violence that other people were doing, because he was negotiating on behalf of them with the university to remove the encampment. Right? These are their demands for removing the encampment.
Like, listen, you could say that his motives are positive or good, right? And that he was trying to find a peaceful solution whilst also trying to find a peaceful solution in Palestine, right? Like you can still claim that as like some morally good thing from your position. I am speaking descriptively about the law and whether or not he is subject to losing his green card status, and whether or not Trump is in some egregious violation of the Constitution, or whether or not he's just being a dick that's using the law within the bounds of the power that he has, right? And so that's what I'm saying here, right? Like I'm not saying that he's like bad, but I'm saying what I'm saying is if this person is purporting to be a representative of a group that is engaged in terrorist activity, which is pretty fucking loosely defined by the law, right? Then this very well could meet that standard, and he would have the legal authority to do so. That doesn't make it necessarily right.
But we're debating if it's right, and if this would be the precedent going. Wow, Jesus. Precedent going forward. That's kind of what
it's been.
We have people that are like kind of firmly pro. You're kind of just like going, this is the status quo, so like it's kind of annoying. I may not agree with it, but then we have two people that are like pro this deportation, and the conversation here.
Panel. There's varying ideas and beliefs and.
Well, yeah, but Scott, so if you don't have a strong opinion on this,
you don't have an opinion on this.
Let us talk to the people who disagree.
Yeah, you don't have about having a strong. I do have a strong opinion on it. I've stated my strong opinions on it. You're getting mad because I am only speaking descriptively. I'm not making the moral claim that Trump ought to do this. What I'm saying is I'm calling out when you're saying that they doesn't have this authority. That that's not true.
Okay, so Scott, I understand he might technically. I think it's a waste of time to argue with you about whether or not he technically has a legal authority. I think it's something
because I already won that debate.
I think that's something. No, I think it's something that's being worked out in court right now, right? And there's a reason it's now being stopped by a judge, and it'll go through the legal process that it should have gone through at the start. But I'd like to talk to Gibbs and Grid because they seem to be fully in support of the president doing this, which is far worse than your position, far more interesting than your position, to be frank. So I'd like to understand why they think this is a good thing to do. Yeah, right? They were talking about the puppet president,
and where I know where the limits are.
I called out your bullshit, and now you're like, "Oh, you're so boring."
I'd like to know where the limits are for them.
Okay, all right, Gibbs and Grid, you can respond.
Go ahead, Grid. You go first.
I mean, to me, it's just a simple, clear-cut case of he violated his green card.
A double.
Your mic is
double.
Yeah.
What?
You're underwater. You're underwater.
Fuck.
You're not underwater. There's like an echo.
Well,
sounds
like a doubling.
Yeah. Well, Gibbs.
Yeah, I'll go.
You want to go?
Yeah. I mean, so to me, Fabian pretty clearly laid out the established letter of the law. Okay, right. And so I see it that way. When I look at this, right, I almost look at it like a business would look at. I have the right to refuse service to customers. I have the right to employ people at will. I'm an at-will employer, right? This guy works at my pleasure. He's at my way. So this guy's a legal alien. He's come here, and he's attached tangentially to like groups like UNRRA. Y'all can argue about that if you want. We know that he's also an organizer for protest, one of which he was an officer for, like Fabian laid out, where they were actively participating in property vandalism, taking over the area and barring people from there. Now, you don't agree that that's physical violence. It is physical violence.
Need an investigation.
Sorry, I hate to break it to you. Now, finally, we also know that. Cool. Don't care. Anyway, moving on. And so when I'm looking at this, don't care. Moving on. So when I'm sitting here going, hey, I look at this, they are absolutely within their right to remove somebody that's sitting here being a confirmed malcontent with potential terrorist ties. That's somebody that needs to go. I'm sorry. We're sick of this shit. Why do we just need these people that don't want to be here, that are making our country worse actively and
Except
they
do want to be here, make it better, and
inciting terrorist and riotous activities to occur at protest. Why are we allowing these people to stay here? This guy's an enabler.
I thought you were might makes right. What happened to might makes right?
This is might makes right. We're taking him.
What about for the terrorists? What about for the terrorists?
We're kicking him out. He's gone.
What about for the terrorists? No might makes right.
One second. Do you want to respond?
Yeah, is my mic still messing up?
He doesn't want to be here, and that he's like
good.
He's making the country worse or whatever the fuck. But Gibbs, like the reality is, you were talking about like how Biden was a puppet earlier. You should have been out there with this guy. You should have been at the encampment that he was negotiating for, because what they were protesting in favor of was not just pro-Palestine, but removing Israel's fucking stranglehold on our politicians, which you should be in favor of. You shouldn't want your president to be a cuck of Israel. So you should be
not really what they were.
They'll never admit it.
You should thank him for putting his fucking life on the line, his reputation on the line, his legal status on the line for your fucking country.
They'll never admit it, brother.
Okay. So again, to me, it boils down to this is really simple. He violated his green card. Whether or not my personal feelings about that are irrelevant, to be honest. I don't really care.
I'm not asking you what the legal.
He's a good martyr. He's a good martyr.
So we don't know that right now. Hold on, stop. We don't know what the technical legal ramifications are going to be, what they are, because that's all going to be argued out in court. There's lots of opinions for different laws and different sides of this.
Thank you for admitting that I won when you claimed that wasn't true earlier.
Scott. There are many lawyers who are on the opposite side of this, who say that you're completely wrong. Your perspective is completely wrong.
The lawyer will say anything you pay him to.
No, you made the claim, and now it's, we don't know.
Literally, a lawyer will say anything you pay them to.
These guys seem to have, beyond the law, beyond the legal technicalities, they seem to believe that this is a morally correct thing to do. Whether or not it's currently legal. Okay, well then explain that. Don't. I mean,
it's morally correct to follow the law. Unless there's a reason.
Your interpretation of the law. Tell me why you think. So if this was not the law,
my interpretation of the law is as it's written in front of me.
Oh God. So Grid again.
Oh my God.
So if it were not in the law currently, you would think it's okay for him to stay here. You would not want him deported. If the law, if that were not your interpretation of the law, if this law that you think exists didn't exist, you'd be okay with him staying here as a support of a terrorist group.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well then get to that. Get to this. So
the law doesn't matter.
Why do I want someone that supports a terrorist group? I have a better question. Why do you?
Should we have the right to?
There's literally no world in which I would support someone that supports a terrorist group in this country. I don't support the KKK. I consider them a terrorist group. Do you support them? Do you support their ability
to have a terrorist group? They're not a terrorist group, like as labeled by.
If we had a legal alien,
I support the KKK.
Hold on,
let's kick his ass out too. Like, what's the problem? If we had a legal alien supporting the KKK, but he's got to go too. Why else?
You would never hold that standard.
I absolutely would.
You would never hold that.
I actually would.
The KKK's around me.
Why do you look? This is really horrible sociologic that you would literally tell Gibbs that he would not stand up and say, "Hey, that's wrong," because it's wrong.
I just don't believe that. I honestly don't believe it. I think you're saying it for the point, just to kind of drive your point home, but I don't think you believe.
Hold on. What you're saying is that you think Gibbs supports the KKK.
Well, what?
You literally just said that.
No, I said I don't think you would hold the same standard right now. We're being specific.
Then that means you think that he supports them.
Middle Eastern terrorists.
It is literally a black and white line. Either the logic is that Gibbs supports the KKK or he doesn't. That's it. There's no black and white. You're trying to like derail this logic train. It's simple logic. Either
it's not that simple.
Greg. It's a pretty damn simple, dude.
I think what I was implying, like myself and like him, I'm sure, we were okay with the KKK supporters being in the country, even though we disagree with them. We wouldn't want them deported, even if they're dumbasses. I think that's what he's saying about Gibbs, and that Gibbs is actually pretending to be far less in favor of free speech than he actually is.
All right, let me give you another hypothetical. Let me give you an actual hypothetical. I don't want to be bad faith here. Let me give you an actual hypothetical. If Vladimir Putin sent over 25 Russian students and had them lead protests and march in favor of Russia. And Biden had said, "No, we're kicking you out of the country. We're canceling your green cards and we're deporting you." Would you have had a problem with that?
Yeah.
You would have?
Are you agree?
Actually-
If you're a green
actually
card holder in the country
Look on Scott's face, it's awesome.
and you're holding protests because you're pro-Russia, yeah, I think you should be able to do that.
You're lying. You know, I love it when liberals
Why
lie.
am I lying?
I can tell when you're lying every
Dude,
fucking
that currently
time.
happens
You're
right now.
lying,
Grid.
sir. You would.
Grid.
There's no damn way you would go along with that. There's no damn
Why
way.
would what?
Grid,
Wait, what do you
Grid,
mean go
that
along with it?
happens
There's no
right
way you
now.
would have a
What do you
problem
think
with
while
it.
is?
You
Grid,
would
Grid,
literally
Grid.
line up to watch them leave.
What?
You would.
Why?
I guarantee you had. I stand with Ukraine in your for a bumper sticker for the
Fuck
past 2
Ukraine. Who
years.
gives a fuck about Ukraine?
I don't. Wait. I
Yeah.
don't have a bumper sticker. Just because I make a statement like I stand with Ukraine doesn't mean that's my life or my ideology or what I go with every single day.
Okay.
And just because someone is pro-Russia, yeah, I don't think you should be deported. That's weird.
No, if they
I don't think that's a
came
good- I
over
don't think
here
that's a
and
good
they led
standard. I don't think that's a
pro-Russian,
good standard to have in this
okay,
country.
if they led pro-Russian
Grid,
marches,
Grid, stop,
would you
Grid,
have a problem
please.
with Biden
No,
deporting?
what's a pro-Russian
No.
march?
Grid.
There are not.
This
You know,
already
there are
happens in our
Nazis
fucking
that march
country
in Detroit.
right
Like
now.
you have to let them happen.
If there's an
Unfortunately,
illegal
people are dumb.
alien Nazi,
There are
kick
literal
his ass out
Nazis.
too.
There are
Are
literal
they?
Nazis.
Do they have
there are
green
literal
cards,
Nazi
sir?
marches. There are
You're
literal
missing
Nazi-
the
I don't care
point.
if they have a green
You're
card.
making shit up.
If they
Stop
have
it.
green
No,
cards,
no, I'm not.
kick
Them
them out.
having a green card isn't the determining fact for me.
The green card is the determining factor.
Hey, gotta let some other people in. All right, so I'm gonna go to Aiko. I'm gonna go to Corey.
Goddamn.
I think I know where Ollie was going with this, with the KKK stuff. Because let's say there was a march with a bunch of different people from different parts of the right. Say, call it Unite the Right. And there were some racists there doing some bad things. Would you say that anyone that was at that rally is responsible for what the most extreme elements of that party were? Or would you say there were some good people on both sides?
If you're a legal alien at that rally, kick him out. Like I don't know
So,
how.
but citizens don't
even if they
matter.
didn't
It doesn't-
do anything
Wait. I'll help. Is it worse if
Hold on,
illegal
that's
aliens
not
are, or is it
what
worse
we're
if
arguing about.
citizens
That's
have
not
that
what we're arguing
ideology and
about.
are going
Sorry,
on?
That's not the
Once
argument
again,
we're
this
making.
becomes- Nobody's
this
arguing
becomes
about
Why are you
this.
making that
No,
argument? That's not the
not
argument anyone's making. You're the only one making that argument.
Yeah, I want to talk to Aiko. The answer to your question is, if they're a legal alien at that rally, kick their ass out.
Well,
They were
hold
at a terrorist rally.
Then we kick all the legal
Hold on.
aliens out. Then we got to
You're
kick all
skipping
the
steps.
people who oppose. It's like
You're not
this is
talking about
weird.
kicking out the
Let
illegal
Aiko
alien.
go.
You're talking about kicking out the green card holders that were at
I just
that
said
rally. That
legal alien.
supported Trump.
Legal alien.
He said
If you're a
legal.
Legal alien. If you're there,
No.
you're a legal alien.
Slurs his words.
Okay, show me when that was. Show me when he did that. Yeah,
Legal.
show me when he did that, because there were plenty of people.
Well, you're asking me. You just asked me if I would condone or whatever. I'm saying right now.
Yeah,
the
but what I'm
stance
saying
that
is
me and
if you're
Britt-
only-
me and
yeah,
Britt are
if you do that
taking the same
consistently-
stance.
if
Hold
you
on,
do
me
that
and Britt are
consistently,
taking the exact same stance.
if
Like,
you want to
if
say
you-
that, if you want to say that if you partake in any protest, you're responsible for any of the worst actors that happen to be on the
Nobody's
same
saying that.
ground.
No, nobody
You're
said that.
legal alien.
And if
Gaslighting
you're a
is
green
fun
card
and
holder,
exciting, but
you should
let's
get
just
kicked
keep it in
out.
reality,
I don't
okay?
think that's being consistent. Well, that is
This is not what
reality.
you're doing. Y'all are
That's a real
No, it's
protest
just
that
gaslighting.
actually
We're
happened.
talking about the difference between citizens and legal aliens. If you're a citizen, you get more rights.
I understand
I'm
that.
sorry.
You go to
That's
jail?
not-
If you go to
that's
jail?
you
That's
get
not
more
that's
rights.
irrelevant.
If you're a hold on, I'm sorry. If you're a citizen,
absolutely
you get more
relevant.
rights. It's established.
I accept your
literally
apology,
think
but
it in the
doesn't-
back.
Two, if you're a legal alien, if you're out of place where terrorist attacks
Gibbs,
happen,
that's not what he's
you're there,
arguing against.
kick them
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
nobody's-
I know
nobody's-
that's not, but that's what we're arguing.
But you're
but
not engaging with what
That's
he's
granted.
saying.
Everyone's
He's not
granted
engaging
that.
with
That's
us.
already. That's
He
not.
already
You
engaged.
might as well tell me that 2 + 2 is 4. Like, it's not going to affect the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is, if you want to do this, if you want to set, just like I said before, in all of these cases, if you're going to do something like this, you need to then generalize the principle, right? And just like what we talked about before, that if we're gonna look at one president for using auto pen, we're going to have to look at all of them and going into the future, turn it into a precedent. And here it would be the same thing. If we're going to start now, because this is novel, if we're going to start taking away free speech rights from people who have green cards, okay, I mean, that's going to have to go through the courts, because I don't think it's clear that only American citizens get free speech rights. But even if you do decide to do that, then you're going to have to generalize that principle and do it consistently, which means you would have to do it at the Unite the Right rally, and you would have to do it like consistently, like moving forward. That's all I'm saying, is that we need to look at what happens when we generalize the principle, and not just do it once and then forget that you did.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Neither one of us have any problem with that.
Thank you.
Okay, well then, great. Then you.
That's
agree.
what we were saying at the get-go.
There's no reason to freak out. Then, Corey.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how far this extends. So, Grid 1, if I remember correctly, you said that you consider the KKK a terrorist organization. So I'm curious if
they're local to me, so I know them.
Okay, sure. So if someone becomes a United States citizen, okay, and then they afterwards join the KKK, should they be denaturalized or should their citizenship be revoked in your mind?
I mean, personally, I think so, but I don't know how that process works. This is a legal area that I would have to look into. But I did look into green cards, which is what we're talking about. And if a person came over here, if a Ukrainian Nazi came over and he joined the KKK local 211 downtown, and he started marching with those guys, and he got caught, and Trump, Biden, whoever says, "Hey, he's gone back to Ukraine." Because he's part of a totalitarian regime, preaching hate, all of that sort of thing.
Ali, please.
Okay. Sorry,
well, first Grid. That's why I said I was curious how far this extends. That's why I was, seeing how far you would go. So,
I think I think the law as written. Did you read the law? I posted it in the back.
Yes, but so
it's pretty clear. Is it not pretty clear?
Great, let him go.
I'm just letting you know there appears to be a process of also denaturalization as well.
There is, we're not talking about denaturalization because that's irrelevant here, right? He hasn't.
I said I'm curious how far it extends, as in
I don't know.
Aspect.
So I do know that, for example, my wife went through the citizenship process and she had a green card and she had to be very careful about what she did, who she talked to, even back home, because she didn't want it to affect her chances of being a citizen.
And from what I understand, although correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to speculate, but I believe your spouse is part of was from a certain country. Okay.
Yes. So she's from China. She was a member of the Communist Party. She had to renounce that membership.
Okay.
This is why I kind of know about this, is because she had to renounce that membership. And now China's a little different because you are required, whether you believe it or not, to join the Communist Party at some point. And they have a couple of different, she was a utilitarian communist, and they have some other types. I don't know. I don't care. But the reality is that to get the green card, before she could even get the green card, she had to say, "I'm out."
But if it was found, let's say, there's some photos here in the United States that, she has the Chinese flag on her T-shirt or whatnot, would that be grounds for her citizenship being revoked?
Probably not the Chinese flag, but if she was out espousing Chinese communist ideals in, say, a school or a public setting, not now because she's a citizen, I don't think that would be a problem. But while she was getting her green card, absolutely, it would have been a problem.
Well, what if she was cheering for China during the Olympics? Would that be grounds?
I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know. I don't think that's promoting terrorist activity. That's a great question. I don't have the answer to it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
GB, you want to say something?
I was just going to say that I think that scenario that Gabe's laid out earlier about the Russian students or whatever coming here and organizing
I did that,
whatever.
Actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Grid.
We think get you mixed up all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't look alike. It's because we're white.
Exactly the same to me.
That's what it is.
It's because all us white guys look alike.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that already happens, Grid. So I'm actually curious as to what you would think about this, because I'm aware, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware, that Israel does this currently. In fact, I think a lot of the push to attack and suppress these pro-Palestine movements is driven by Israeli actors in the United States who are working with our representatives to push pro-Israel agendas in the U.S.
Wait, you think the guy was secretly Israeli?
No,
No.
I'm saying things like the. I mean, I don't know if the TikTok ban is a perfect example of that, but I think that was something that was absolutely pushed in part because of anti-Israel.
I don't watch TikTok. I have no idea what you're talking.
That's fine. That's fine. But I think also the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act that was being pushed hard
Anti-BDS.
last year, the anti-BDS laws that exist all over the fucking country. This latest wave of bullshit against this Mahmoud Khalil, and what they're intending to do with this, to like the freezing effect that I think it's going to have. I think all of that is intended to benefit Israel, and I think this is happening because Israel has agents in our country that are working with our representatives to pressure them to push pro-Israel agendas. So, would you support all of these people being deported?
Which people? The Israelis?
The Israeli agents that are in our country, pushing our representatives to push
Well, I believe any foreign agent
that are restricting our free speech rights, that are attempting to restrict our free speech rights to benefit.
I think you'd have a hard time proving that out. But I do believe that any agent of a foreign country that's not declared should be made to leave.
Do you think AIPAC should be forced to register as?
Wait a minute. Trump just got rid of those laws. Trump just canceled the FAR laws that say you have to register as a foreign agent.
Really?
Now you can be a foreign agent, and yep.
Interesting.
I wonder why
because too many Republicans were getting busted
with
with that law. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because everything happened in his first term. There were multiple people, including Mike Flynn and multiple other people. There were at least 5 people that I can look up and that I can remember that ran afoul of the FARA laws. And Trump just got rid of it so that now you can be a foreign agent and not have to register.
Interesting.
And I put articles talking about the groups that were pushing to investigate Khalil and the rest of the protesters. That they worked hand in hand with the government to make this happen. Right, they're well-connected individuals who are doing this.
Yeah,
do you agree that saying crisis king is anti-Semitic?
Hold on.
That's the new push.
I want to see what your source is, right? Because I had heard a little bit about the FARA. But if you could send me a source on that, because from what I understand,
I'm looking that up right now.
he did not get rid of the registration requirements and reporting requirements. Instead, he told the Department of Justice to not go after people unless they're, quote, conduct similar to more traditional espionage by foreign government actors. So they still have a reporting requirement and registration requirement.
Interesting.
But that he's saying the DOJ is wasting their time by going after anyone and everyone unless they're engaged. He's saying focus on people that are doing espionage and spying. Which, I mean, your position is still fair that that's a weird thing to do. Like the DOJ is the DOJ is just too swamped, right? Like, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I am disagreeing unless you have a different source that they got rid of the registration requirements because that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, leaving them on paper and not enforcing them is maybe a slight distinction from striking it from paper or whatever. But the fact is, the next administration, if it's Democratic, would reinstate those laws anyway.
There's a lot of laws that are enforced in this country that are secondary things, right? So for example, in Virginia, seatbelt laws, right? It's illegal to not wear your seatbelt, but most police departments have been told don't pull people over for not wearing their seatbelt.
It's an optional
because
law.
Cops can't see in cars very well, and it just causes more traffic and more problems because it's a waste of resources. But if you pull someone over for a bad, tag or a light being out, you can then write a ticket for the seatbelt, right? I think the same thing would apply here, which is Trump is saying, look, if you find somebody doing some shifty shit and then they happen to be a foreign agent that isn't registered,
get rid of them.
that's still perfectly fine. Get rid of them. What he's saying is don't waste investigatory power on that pure one specific thing unless you suspect them of engaging in some form of
But being a foreign agent in and of itself and not registering is shifty.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, by definition.
Right, but there's a difference between investigating everyone to determine that and the resources that are used for that, as opposed to finding someone doing espionage and then you're like, you didn't register as a foreign actor, we got your ass, as opposed to just going through and looking for everyone that isn't registered as
even if you don't investigate, the media can dig into
motivation, right? I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to be factual here, as opposed to saying he got rid of registration requirements when he didn't.
After that, let's go to Scott. Sorry, not Scott. Ali.
Yeah, so like we're talking about like foreign agents registering, whether or not they register. I think it's weird that we have a foreign agent that is acting within our government to stop up laws for them. Anti-BDS laws, we don't even have anti-American boycott laws. The whole like anti-Zionism, like being anti-Semitism, not good. And right now the next push, because there are like, you know, Christians that are anti-Zionist, is that like Christ is king, and saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic. So it's like you're having a foreign country come in and limit your speech to like we're not the ones pushing for it. It's not Americans that are pushing for this. And so like no, I think it's really easy to prove that there's foreign agents coming limiting our speech, and that Israel's doing that.
Maybe we can prove that. I have a question.
Are you okay with that?
I don't.
Are you okay with
what are you
AIPAC not
asking
being a
me? What do you,
foreign
I mean,
registered-
seriously, this is my problem with the whole anti-Israel thing. This is my real problem.
Bro, just answer that one, Grid. Come on, man.
What,
Just
should
say fuck that.
AIPAC register as a foreign entity?
No, I don't give a
Why?
Why do they need to?
It's a lobby group for
Because it's a
nations.
country, it's a foreign country lobbying group, and every other foreign country registers as a foreign country except for American Israel lobby.
Spies, agents.
AIPAC, I mean, I'm
Hold on,
sure
I have a lot. There are a lot of people that lobby for Chinese.
lobbies our government to
Hold on.
benefit of foreign countries.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
like,
To be fair, AIPAC has found the fucking loopholes in our own laws, and that's why they don't have to register.
Yeah. What do you?
right?
Why
So,
are you
like,
acting?
the
I mean,
registration-
Hold on, but
like,
Grid,
if you
we
look
should
for
have
something
changed the
nefarious,
laws.
I have a stupid question. If you guys think Israel's controlling the country, why are almost all politicians Christian
What?
and not Jewish?
Oh my God!
So hold on. So
I got it. Seriously, I want a serious
politician
answer.
goes puts on the little yarmulke.
I
and
want
kisses
a
the wall. I don't
serious
believe that they're
answer.
Christian.
I
don't believe that they're
owe
Christian.
nothing to
I
the
don't
Jews.
believe that
I'm
they're
Christian.
They put on their little yarmulkes and kiss the wall. I don't believe they're Christian.
Grid. So
Wait,
I
you think
you're-
Trump's
wait, hold on.
Israeli? Do you? You think he's Jewish? Well, you're an idiot.
Oh, hold on.
I can't even. I can't even.
I think it is. I think
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And you're
It's
a cuck to
literally
Israel.
stupid.
Okay. I'm an idiot and you're a cuck to Israel.
Every time they get elected, I think that's fucking weird.
Hey, pause. I want to hear
Come
what
on.
he has to say.
This is some conspiracy theory stuff.
That was a troll answer. We know that. Let's move past it.
So Grid,
I
I
hope.
think that you're thinking of the issue the wrong way. So it's not an issue specifically with Israel, right?
I think
Israel
you're
is
thinking of it
one-
the wrong way.
No,
But
if
continue.
you
Keep
were
going.
thinking about it correctly, you wouldn't have asked that question, because you would know that the vast majority of Zionists in the United States are actually Christians. There are tons of Christian Zionists who push pro-Israel shit for Israel because they think the Jews need to control Israel so that Jesus comes back or whatever the fuck, right? So there's a ton of these people in the United States, right? So it's not just Israel. There are people within the United States who are
How many do you
citizens, who
know?
are Christians who are not Israelis in any way, who also push for Israel.
Okay,
But
how many
it
do you
is
know,
true that
personally?
AIPAC, look at
We know a
Lindsey
ton.
Graham. Lindsey Graham. There's a ton of
You
them.
know,
There's a
Lindsey
ton of our
Graham. You
government.
know he's. I mean, come on. I'm asking you, how many do you know in your
Hold on.
personal life?
Personally, my father.
Your father. Okay, so one.
Yeah, there are a ton of people who
I don't
consider
know
themselves to be
any.
Christians who support Israel for religious
We
reasons.
don't know any evangelicals. Okay, all right.
I don't actually. I don't go to an evangelical church, so I know we don't know
Listen, I'm a Catholic now, but I was Baptist growing up, Southern Baptist growing up, and absolutely there was that affinity between my church personally, like that I grew up with, and the idea of Israel. And they now, admittedly, what they wanted to support Israel because they thought it would hasten the end of the world. Like that was the church I was part of. Yeah, absolutely. Like it wasn't the kind of reason that most Israelis like personally would agree with, but absolutely this was their motivation for supporting Israel.
But
Yeah, it's amazing.
In Aiko, I don't know if I forget I think it is the largest evangelical organization in the United States that Benjamin Netanyahu gave a speech to, calling them like a great ally to Israel, and they're literally advocating for Israel because they want Revelation the end of the world to come. Like it's fucking crazy.
They want specifically they want a rebuilding of the temple.
Church.
Yeah, they don't believe that the Jews will remain Jews when Jesus comes back. Okay, and they're calling this guy like a great ally of fucking Israel. It's crazy. right?
Hold
It's
on.
actually sick.
That was us.
So,
Okay, that was
but
us.
real quick. So,
I'm
so
sorry.
Grid, when I say you're thinking about it incorrectly, you're that's what I mean. It's not just Israelis, but it's
Interesting.
true that that I believe AIPAC, which is an organization that is I think is privately funded, quote unquote, made up of American citizens, quote unquote, usually dual citizens. I think that organization specifically is in our country to advocate for pro-Israel agendas, right? And I think if they're going to do that, if you want people advocating for a foreign nation in our country and pushing laws that restrict our free speech rights to benefit a foreign nation, they should have to register as a foreign
Wait,
nation.
hold on.
Scott.
Your free speech laws are
So-
you've been okay. Go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Say anything about
allegations
Zionists on
of
Twitch.
so-
Go
so-
for it.
anti-BDS
So-
laws, anti-Semitism, awareness act, etc.
So a couple of things. First of all, yeah, a lot of AIPAC are dual citizenship, but it's also important to note that you are a dual citizen of Israel if you are Jewish. Like if you're Jewish, you have dual citizenship.
I don't think
Like
it's
you're
true.
ethnically
That's
Jewish,
not
right?
true.
So
Yeah, that's not
that
true.
is true.
That's
have
not
to-
true. You
you
don't
have to
have
still get paperwork
citizenship.
done.
You can
Yeah,
get
you have
granted
to go into you have
citizenship.
to go and
Yeah,
like
you don't-
actually seek out
right,
the
all you
citizenship
have
to
is-
be eligible for it.
All you have to do is do a fucking tour and then fill out some paperwork.
But you have
Yeah,
to
you
do
got to
the
go
tour and
across
fill
the
out
world.
paperwork.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
gotta
like
do that.
Right,
Israel
I'm
Israel
just-
doesn't
I'm just-
own all
hold on,
Jews who
hold
are
on.
born, right? They don't
Hold-
automatically just own the Jewish
Hold on,
people.
that's
Yeah.
not what I said. I didn't say they own the
Well,
Jewish
you
people.
said that all Jews are like citizens.
Israeli
of Israel,
citizens.
right?
if
in
you
this fact.
if you are a politician or somebody that is in in corporate lobbying and things of that nature, it's a fucking piece of paperwork and a free trip. You get
Then
fucking
do
a
the
free
piece of
trip to-
paperwork, and then you
right.
are.
I'm just
like,
saying. I'm just pointing out that like when it's like, oh, there's a ton of citizens. There is that is the easiest country to be a citizen of, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not like they were born there or something like that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to add to that. So in terms of answering your question, Grid, right? Let's set aside the Christian evangelicals that want, the Holy Land to belong to the
Sure.
Jews because that's what's laid out in the Bible, right? And let's just talk about incentives here, right? Because you don't need a grand conspiracy or like, you don't, the Jews don't need to run the world or anything like that, right? We don't have to get into anything too crazy. I wouldn't, especially on YouTube, but nevertheless,
please don't.
right? Right. But like all you need, right, is an understanding that Israel is the only Western, somewhat democratic country in the Middle East. There are some that are close, but nevertheless, that is aligned with us, as opposed to aligned with other interests such as China or Saudi Arabia or OPEC Plus, et cetera. That we have a incredibly close relationship with the Five Eyes program and our intelligence agencies.
It's true.
That there is right, and that there is a lot of reasons that people that are elected politicians can convince themselves very easily when AIPAC comes to them and says, hey, we want a couple of favors. And if you don't do these favors, we're going to outspend you 2-1 on your other people, and go,
Now, that I
these
can
are
believe.
a great ally.
That I
They're an intelligence ally. And this is how we keep the Middle Eastern wars from coming over here, et cetera. Specifically when it comes to the Democrats, anytime you have a radical anti-Israel candidate, they immediately go to the other Democrat that's like that is willing to play ball, and they give them all of their money to make sure that there aren't radical anti-Israel candidates on the left. And then very often, they'll either fund the right-wing guy or they'll fund them. It all depends on how well they're willing to play ball. They have a ton of money, and they have a ton of what you could say morally is undue influence. And they're not being forced to register via basically loopholes, because Zionism is a religious ideology as much as it is about the state of Israel. So we're just a bunch of people that are Zionists and believe in this, religious belief system, and all of a sudden they're magically not actually supporting a nation state in another country. They're supporting an overall ideology and religious belief, and now they don't have to be register as a foreign entity, and they're again, they're given undue influence in the way that they're not looked at with as much scrutiny, and that they don't have the same tax situations, and they don't have the same paperwork to file, etc. Right? Like, we don't need this like religious element to even explain how a country that has all these intelligence ties and money ties has undue influence on politicians, because politicians can be bought and sold by corporations just as much as they can by AIPAC.
And see, that actually makes sense more than they're all evil bastards. And they're just,
all politicians are evil
I don't
bastards.
think. I think we gave.
I don't think we said that they're. I don't think we said that they're evil. we just
we gave
with them
3
advocating
specific
for a
things.
foreign nation in our country.
And Doobie listed multiple like specific things that he thought was wrong. He didn't say, "Oh, they're all evil bastards." So like,
yeah.
You want to engage with the
solution
argument, or you just want to listen to Fabian repeat our arguments for us?
I didn't hear any of your arguments in what you said.
Fucking language, all right, sociologic. If you fucking sat in the chair instead of going and eating dinner during the
you speak idiot better than I do, man.
You'd be understanding what's happening with the
you
right.
Speak idiot. You speak idiot better than I do. It's okay.
Yeah, I have a solution for this.
Yeah, sociologic, the smartest man here, huh?
No,
dumbest. Are you ready for this? This is a solution I think will solve Doobie's problem. We forcibly annex Israel and Palestine, and now they are part of the United States. And then we don't
leave the Middle East
because they're just.
Or they never allow that because they want to maintain the rational state, so that wouldn't happen.
Well, they can want to do that, but
I have a better solution, Gibbs. One that you might like. We just leave the Middle East and let them duke it out on their own.
And then we conquer them.
I say we treat. No,
then you can just ally with the winners.
Actually, that's my. I mean, that's
we just Lion King it.
Yeah,
okay,
there we
hold
go.
on. We Lion King it. All right,
we sell weapons to both sides.
Okay,
let's do that.
When children go to school, we show them a globe, and then there's this region just called the Shadowlands. Okay, and they're like, "What's this area?" And it's like that's where people do fucked up shit and bomb each other and fucking have a crazy fucking religion. That's the Shadowlands, and we leave them the fuck alone. And they leave us the fuck alone. And when the hyenas come out of the Shadowlands, we go fucking get back, or we chase them off. And if the hyenas keep coming back, we fucking go Mufasa on their ass, and we bite a couple of them, and then they run back to the Shadowlands.
Actually, based. We get out of the Middle East, let them duke it out, and then we ally with the winners. I
call this the Lion King strategy.
We take over like half of it with the winners. And
brother, you gotta keep taking over land. It doesn't work for us. Allyship is better than ownership. It's fine.
One world government.
We should lease. We should lease, not own. Be happy not owning. It's fine.
We make
like Grid and
go ahead.
I'm very curious about this, right? Because I don't know. Because I don't.
I'm joking about the Lion King argument, by the way.
Yeah, Ali, you're frozen for some reason.
Oh shit!
But
camera's frozen.
Really quick, yeah. So I'm actually very curious because I consider myself to be a pretty hardcore American nationalist, right? Which is one of, I think it's probably the core reason I fucking despise Israel, right? Because I can see them transparently cucking our politicians constantly, and it drives me fucking crazy, right?
It's not good.
So, but as like I think you guys are conservative. I think it's fair to call you good conservative Trump supporters. I think. Doesn't it bother you like somewhere in your soul when Marco Rubio goes out there and says, "Oh, we're cutting all this foreign aid, no money. We're going to keep our money for our citizens, etc., except Israel. We're going to expedite $4 billion to them right now." Like, that doesn't fucking bother you? You don't wonder why this is happening?
I mean,
like why this country is getting so much additional support when they're already doing they're doing well. They can take care of themselves. Obviously, they don't need our fucking money. Why do we keep sending the money? Like it's very frustrating.
I sympathize with you. I'm also an American nationalist, maybe of a different breed, but I don't like the idea of Israel having pulled all the strings either. I don't like the idea of any government pulling the strings. However, and this is maybe where I separate from you a little bit, is when I look at this, I kind of for the reasons Fabian laid out, tangentially, they're our ally. We can debate whether or not that's true. But I'm very much, that's fine.
There's greatest ally, sir.
Hold on.
I call them
Hold on. Sure. Listen, there's absolutely an argument to be made that they're only in it for themselves and they're not our ally at all, right? Like I can see that argument as well. But when I look at it, this is more of a situation of we have to take one battle at a time. Let's get rid of one thing first, and then once we've cleaned up over here, then we can come over here and clean this up next. Like it's kind of like a domino. Like there's no way we can separate ourselves from this like right now. Like it makes me sick to say that, but like it makes me sick to say that, but that's the situation as it is.
Yeah, Gibbs, I get that, but I think Trump got I think it was like at least $200 million from a single pro-Israel donor, Miriam Edelson, $200 million from this woman. And I think, and she went around to these other pro-Israel billionaires, right, and got them to give him tons of money too. And there were this isn't like confirmed or anything, right? But there are like rumors going around.
Does it help people that I want in office though?
Wait, what?
Like, is that like so? Like, here's my question.
I'm back, Prime.
Generally, is when they're donating this money, is it people on my side that are benefiting? Like people that
No, actually, this is
It
where
depends on which side they donate to.
yeah, this is where
Yeah.
so Gibbs, the rumor is right. The rumor is that what she wanted for this $200 million was the West Bank. Right? Whereas last time with her husband when he donated hundreds of millions, I think it was like I want to say like 137 million if I remember correctly, just off the top of my head. He wanted the movement of the Israeli capital to Jerusalem, right? And he wanted that to be recognized by the United States. And I think also the Golan Heights, if I remember correctly. What Mary Madelson wants is the West Bank, and you can see in Israel right now they're moving hard against the West Bank, right? So I don't think this benefits us at all. Actually, I think this makes us all less safe.
Another war we got to go into later.
Exactly, because Israel's going to do all this shit. All this is associated with us. So not only do we get are we on the hook for the tax money that's going to go out to these people,
or us bombing Iran or the Houthis,
But
I think
yeah,
Israel's
they've the ceasefire was bullshit. It just never existed. They've been bombing and killing people since it started, looking for ways to sabotage it. Fuck them. But beyond that, not only do we need to pay for it, but we're associated with all this evil shit that they're doing. And I think if you read through some of these reports that are coming out from the UN and Amnesty International, it's like fucking biblically evil shit. Like it's really, really bad. And now we're associated with it because we paid for it. So I don't think that this benefits us at all. I think this makes it much more likely that we're going to have more terrorist attacks. People around the world will hate us, I think, reasonably. And I don't think we should be supporting people who do this.
Well, we're also actively there, right? We just engaged with the Houthis, and then we're talking about like Iran with taking out their nuclears. It's like we're actively about to be there again for a defense of a country that we can say is our greatest ally, but all they do is get us into wars in the Middle East that we don't want to, and then funding that no American supports. Or I mean, not no American, but like we want that money for us. So it's just kind of a constant loop. We're about to go back to war with the Middle East. This isn't a good.
So all that to say that if you're like a pro-American MAGA person, you should be fucking hounding Trump and every other pro-American MAGA person to stopping Israel's cock, because it's terrible.
It's interesting because I have the same point of view towards Ukraine and everything else. Like, to be honest with you, I'm an isolationist, so I believe we ought to be out of all those fucking countries. We shouldn't be in the sandbox at all. You know. And I don't believe that we have any actual allies in this world, because literally everybody takes our money, and very few people give us any back. So so therefore, you guys are like you guys are preaching to the choir globally. I agree with that. I mean, I don't give a shit whether we support Israel or not. I just don't care. I would just prefer. My preference is. We don't do any of it. We don't support Germany. We don't support fucking France. We don't send money overseas. If people want weapons from us, they buy them, pay cash on a barrelhead. That would be my preference. That's not the reality.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't like the whole NATO or like the whole the European and us like supporting Ukraine? Isn't it because like we are specifically like adversarial with Russia, right? Like it is our way of fighting Russia. But
I don't even know why we're adversarial with Russia.
I'm just asking you. Well, to be fair, this is my entire life. I thought we were anti-Russia until this year. Everyone started coming out the woodwork. I thought you guys would kind of be able to explain to me, but I thought that's what like,
I'm apathetic
was.
Russia.
Like that was the benefit. I'm saying that was the benefit to us. That was the benefit to us, was that like we were blockading, or like it was like the adversary to Russia. Like that was our benefit, technically. Right? Wrong? Wasn't that the whole point of like NATO? Was that like we had the allyship against Russia?
Well, no.
I mean,
NATO.
I don't know. I'm asking.
I'm trying to understand what your point is.
I don't think that that's true.
Well, we were talking about like interventionism or being isolationist or whatever, and like the fact that like MAGA's been relatively isolationist. They're withdrawing money from X amount of places except for like Israel. And then to Grid's point, like I'm saying the only reason that maybe that we aren't so isolationist when it comes to like NATO or when it came to like Ukraine is that like we are technically adversarial with Russia, and that was our like stronghold. Like technically it was our stronghold against Russia, and then therefore it was a benefit to us, and not necessarily. I know that they weren't paying their fair share, and like that was a whole problem, which they should do. I'm just saying that I believe that was like I feel like NATO was more beneficial to us than to them technically.
So like the idea of being against Russia, right, is a byproduct of something that is dying within the right, which is neoconservative movement, right? And this was kind of like resurged by William F. Buckley, right? Like if you want to understand like where neoconservatism comes from, it comes from William F. Buckley. But I mean, Carter, you know, Russia has been a scapegoat for American politics and issues both in the Middle East and, you know, in the world, kind of historically, really since the Eisenhower Doctrine and utilizing the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency for OPEC oil trades, right? But I mean, you see this with the Carter administration. He's like failing to deal with Iran and the fallout from there, and then all of a sudden we're in Afghanistan fighting the Russians, right? Like and like NATO is kind of the same thing, and so it's a byproduct of the Cold War as well, obviously, right? That we have to.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've muted it while Scott's talking. He's going to do a good job here.
Communism, countries were falling to communism, like dominoes.
Get some grift going.
Right,
I need some grift going.
So Russia was
get me through the night.
Soviet Union.
You saw my kid bring me some cheese sticks because I didn't have any dinner or anything. I barely made it home in time. It's an interesting discussion tonight. These guys are just not ready. They just hate everybody.
Right, and it went relatively well, all things considered. And then when we went into Russia, it seemed like many of the people at the State Department were more determined in punishing Russia than they were in actually engaging in shock therapy and bringing them into like the capitalist fold, right? They sold off all of these nationalized industries with like these coupons and then basically just gave them to everybody. But you have all these people that were destitute that couldn't afford food and groceries. So they sold off their coupons for pennies on the dollar of what they were actually worth. And that is kind of the beginning of the gobbling up of power of the Russian oligarchs, is that they were able to legitimately gain massive amounts of industry and power in that. And so since then, Russia hasn't really been a communist threat in any capacity. They became more capitalistic, more Western, etc.
I want to end this conversation. I want to move on. We're
Never mind.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's get to the topic at hand.
Poppers and
buttholes.
Poppers and buttholes.
Super chat.
Unless you guys don't want to. You guys don't want.
No, it's fine. It's
I'm
fine.
ready for it.
Okay. All right. Hello out there. That topic that you clicked on. We're going to talk about that. We'll make that a thing. So stick around for that, guys. If you like this channel and like the conversation we've had so far, this was pretty intense, but we have intense conversations all the time. Please consider helping out the channel. We do need your help. We haven't gotten any subs this
guys
month.
Remember when I finish up tonight, I'm gonna hang around. We're gonna do a little bit of after debate bullshit, and then I'll sign off. Hopefully they won't stay too late. We'll move on.
We would much appreciate it. Resub if you haven't already. That keeps us up and running. But yeah, we do need your help. We don't have any subs this month yet, so help us out. Help us out. Well, if you're on YouTube, of course, you can give bits or give subs. You can give memberships. Or you can do super chats. Right. So super chats, just like we did previously, we reacted to that super chat. So consider using that super chat, and we'll play something to you or whatever you want. So how about the channel so we can keep going, right? We're trying to make big moves here at this channel, but we need that your help to keep on going to make those moves. So if you like the things I've been getting up to, so consider supporting the channel. All right. The topic is all right. Poppers are considered to be a quote-unquote party drug. For decades, it has been popular among the gay community as it gives a feeling of euphoria and helps ease gay sex. However, recently there is a spike in usage among heterosexuals as it makes its way into the mainstream. Unfortunately, this has also come with a rise in poisonings as newbies take the drug improperly. To get around federal drug legislation, poppers are marketed for other uses, such as leather cleaners. And furthermore, they come in bottles that resemble products like 5 Hour Energy drink. So rather than inhaling the drug as it's usually done, people new to the product are drinking it. This can result in severe poisoning. To add to the confusion, conspiracy theorists like RFK Jr. have said the drug leads to AIDS. So, how would you deal with this drug? Would you crack down as the FDA seems to be doing now? Would you regulate the packaging? Or would you ban it altogether? And should party drugs like poppers and ecstasy be treated the same as hard drugs like crack cocaine? So, yeah, uh, it depends on what crowds you roll in. If you ever heard of poppers to begin with, I've heard about poppers, but I was actually grateful to this article because I had no idea why specifically in the gay community that this was so popular. Like I have no clue, but they laid it out. Yeah, it involves a muscle relaxant and helps with anal sex. There you go.
One weekend with Gibbs, and now you're looking up poppers.
Hold on.
The butt sex drug.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I had
red flag. Flag on the play.
I had no idea, and now I know, right? But
I didn't know either, Prime. I had to go look it up.
I say red
Yeah,
flag
I
as I have the eyes wide shut costume on. Like.
But yeah, but now it's like moving into straight spaces, and straight people are doing it, and they're like they have no idea what they're messing with. Also, they're just being sold in like smoke shops and like random places where the people there are not giving proper instructions, and others are getting hurt. So I went to examine this drug and how we should treat it and all that good stuff. All right. So we got limited time. So guys, be quick. I'm talking to Scott, of course. Be quick in your openings, and then we can move on, get started. Scott, please.
That feels targeted.
I'll be very quick.
Literally what?
It is.
War on drugs. War on drugs is dumb. Don't drink poppers. If you do, congratulations. Here is your Darwin Award. There you go.
There you go. Thanks so much.
Legit.
Corey.
This might be first time. I might be longer than Scott. So
You want to measure?
I knew that was coming.
Stream to
I
same
knew
Prime's
it.
channel. But like, yes, I think they should be regulated some way. At the very least, the packaging. Okay, but overall, when it comes to my views on drug use or illicit drug use, like, yeah, I don't think people should be in prison. But I do have a hard time sort of like finding the system of like, people not going to prison and like these being consumed. I don't necessarily want the world where you can go to whatever store and just have anything that you want off the shelf. That to me that is a little bit problematic, but I don't know exactly what the solution is. But at the very least, I think as a starting point, regulating the package, making it exactly clear, I guess, how to consume it, ingest it, whatever. And then the last thing I'll say is whatever, just RFK is just an idiot. I'll leave it there for now.
Okay. Gibbs.
Yeah. So first, yeah, war on drugs bad. Legalize. Don't like it. It's dumb. As far as don't drink it. Echo everything Fabian said. Some of y'all might have noticed that I did come wearing the eyes wide shut face mask and the crown. There's actually a reason for that today, and it's not just because it's a sex themed topic, although it is a sex themed outfit a little bit. See, so I've been very much the political prophet on the right as of late, and I've been nailing these predictions left, right, and center. And so I wanted to understand the mind of a leftist.
A poppers prediction?
When it came to this conversation. So what I have done is, like many leftists who can't say their actual positions out in the world, I have first put on a mask because I need to pretend I'm somebody that I'm not, and I can't actually give a real opinion. And then I have taken this crown, and you might notice it's black and evil and has the eye of Sauron in the front. So I'm channeling the all-seeing eye of Sauron to help me become a true leftist and preach the evil that they are and actually really understand where they're coming from. And the reason why we're talking about poppers today is to obfuscate and hide from the real issues like the auto pen scam. scandal and the drastic corruption that are happening in the Biden administration. And this is just one more diversionary tactic to stop us from talking about the real issues, like the corruption that was in USA, all these things. As for the poppers, I wish that more people took poppers because maybe they'd be a little more relaxed and not be such fucking stick up the ass all the time. We'd be able to pull it out. That's my final thoughts on this. Thank you very much.
After literally spending 2 hours talking about the things
Exactly.
that. Okay, great. Thanks for that. I really love you, man. Let's go for an Heiko.
I just want to say he only has the courage to talk about these things from behind a mask. Try saying that out in the open, sir. You and Daredevil and Spider-Man, right, are cowards.
Menaces.
Yes, menaces to society.
Vigilantes.
Yeah,
unlike
exactly.
Punisher, who doesn't wear a mask.
Yeah, that's right.
Not a menace to society at all.
Except that, well, I don't want to go to. There was
No,
somebody
you
with
said
a Punisher shirt yesterday in the last episode of Daredevil that we could not see his face. All right, I just want to say that. Okay. I don't have a whole lot to say about this because I don't fully understand all of the implications of poppers, like chemically or anything like that. But I will say that when it comes to drugs, like my position has long been that it has to do with how addictive something is, right? You should have if you're an adult and we can keep it away from children and things like that, you should have the freedom to take risks that you want to take, unless your free will has been robbed from you, which is what addiction does. And so my understanding is that poppers aren't addictive in the same way as like some of the harder drugs that are out there. And if that's true, like if I'm not corrected on that at some point in this panel, then my position would be, I mean, I have friends, I've never been a part of the rave community, but I have lots of friends who are, and they tell me that it's not addictive. And so, I don't know much more about the drug itself than that, but let me just say that, if I were to say that I have a policy, it would be that the intensity of the addiction is what decides my opinion on it more than anything else.
Okay, Gibby.
I think it's pretty silly. So I think yeah, they should be regulating the packaging for sure. To be clear, I don't know how the fuck you drink poppers. I mean, typically the stuff's all over the bottle. Don't you die if you inhale if you drink it. Don't put it on your mouth. Keep it away from your mouth, etc. So like, I don't know how the fuck you don't read that and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't drink this shit. Like, I don't know how that happens, but apparently it does. But I mean, that happens with a lot of products. A lot of people do dumb shit with lots of products. I don't think it's a good reason to ban it. So, and I'm typically like very like anti-drug, but with this one specifically, and it could just be because I have like a personal experience, not with using it, but with like being around people who've used it or are using it. It just doesn't seem to be at the level of these other things like ecstasy or cocaine or whatever the fuck. Any muscle relaxation you get from this, I mean, you could probably get something similar from like just drinking some alcohol. Right? So like drinking a bunch of alcohol, you get yourself into like a similar kind of loosey-goosey state. It just, if they're not going to attack that, I don't know why the fuck they're going after poppers. It just seems silly. It seems like one of these like hyped up nothing burgers.
To be unfair, just to be real, there are stories that I've heard of people who've been smokers, right, addicted smokers for years, who are unaware of the Surgeon General's warning on the box, right, who've never read it, and who don't know the link between cancer, like lung cancer, and smoking.
No shot.
That's a thing.
Are they illiterate?
I would be surprised.
They're not
I think some people just don't read.
Sorry, you're from Canada. You don't understand that a lot of people graduate high school in America illiterate.
Yeah.
So, actually, I looked into it a bit, Prime, because I'd never heard of anybody dying from poppers, like ever. So I looked it up, and like everything that I found said it was extremely rare that anybody's died from this. And people who do, it's because they use it in ways that they're not supposed to, i.e., drinking it. So if that's what's happening, then like fuck. If you're gonna ban things because people are using them improperly, like that, there's a ton of other shit you can ban.
Tide Pods
ban
go
actual
first.
shoe shine because someone might drink it. Yeah. Let's go to Grid.
Yeah, so I had to look all this stuff up, mainly because my initial thought was, I think, all drugs should be unregulated. It's a massive drain on our economy, and it's stupid to spend a bunch of time. It's better just to let people kill themselves. If that's what they want to do. I have no care or concern for you if you're a drug addict. I'm sorry. But that's very unchristian of me, but whatever.
But are you sorry though? That's
Yeah, not really.
if you're sorry, then it seems like you do care.
Yeah, I'm not. So the at the end of the day, I had to look this up, and I actually did. I found the opposite of Doobie. I actually found where even NBC was saying that more and more actual deaths are being occurring because of the use of these. It's acyl, however you say that, nitrate, which is it's interesting because if you drink it, you die. Like, unless somebody's there with a stomach pump or like you're next door to a hospital, you're fucking dead. Like, it's not might kill you. It's like, it's pretty fucking effective at killing you because of the way it affects the heart, mostly, and thins blood and some other weird things. But so that was interesting that it's so casually used, and yet people die from it. Now, dying from actually inhaling it, I don't think that. I think you really have to kind of like go really far to die from inhaling it. But drinking it, you're dead. Yeah, like, that's just bad. So I don't think they should. That I do think that maybe in the same way that we restrict access of vapes, cigars, cigarettes, alcohol, maybe that's kind of where you go with this party drug thing. First of all, because of the way it's sold, you can't actually put directions on it as a safeguard. You can't say for inhaling only or do not fucking drink. You can't say that. You can't say that. It's because it's you probably say don't drink it, but people don't read that label anyway.
Yeah.
So
Kind of can.
Yeah, it kind of can. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But because of the way it's sold currently, to get around the law, you can't warn people how to use it properly. So that's kind of dumb as well. But I mean, it's kind of dumb to use it to start with. It's really dumb to not to have weird regulations on it. And so my personal viewpoint is that probably should sell it in sex shops, or it shouldn't be sold in convenience stores next to the fucking energy drinks. That's retarded. Who thought that was a good idea? That's dumb. Like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And whether or not RFK thinks that it's I follow RFK's logic train as to why this would increase the cases of HIV, because it increases the proclivity for anal sex. Anal sex has been linked strongly with the transmission of HIV. So I think that's a logical thought train. So I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's very interesting that people think it is a conspiracy theory. That's weird. But whatever. Who cares? I don't really care that much about it, but it's just an interesting side note. So I just my only concern is that kids can just walk in and buy it thinking it's a 5-hour energy and down it and fucking die. Right. And a clerk, and even in a head shop, a clerk can't tell you how to use it by law, because then they're breaking the law. Okay, so this is just layer of fucked upness that on a scale that I haven't seen with something that's $2.99 or whatever the fuck it costs. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of like drug regulation, I would prefer if drugs were legal and regulated, and we could have like some type of safe way of like acquiring them. Because right now, as it stands, Corey, like you were saying, the problem is that like you don't want people to just be able to like access drugs. Is like right now they just can access drugs, but like the risk of buying them because it's illegal, and like the different types of people that you have to deal with buying them, and like the fact that they're unregulated, so they're cut with like fentanyl, which is like at this point like weed cart vapes are cut with fentanyl. right? Like people are smoking fentanyl and dying, and so like I do think it's an issue with unregulated drugs. I think we should care for like our fellow citizens, because at the end of the day, not everyone is being a drug addict. Some people are just using them, and like some people drink, some people take Molly. It's kind of the one on one. So and for the bottles being like the bottles should be more regulated. Like when K2 first came out, it was advertised as potpourri. And so like, yeah, they couldn't tell you like you would smoke it. Obviously you would buy the potpourri and whoever used it would tell you, you can smoke this, boom, and then you get high, and it was like horrible. And then eventually like they tried to ban it and so on and so forth. But like right now with the poppers, I just sent in the Discord the feel free blue bottle drinks. I'm sure you've probably seen them if you've gone to like a 7-Eleven or like a gas station. If you're maybe in the Midwest or somewhere in the South, they're like kava drinks. And so it's like a relaxing type thing. You drink it. It's kind of supposed to be it's like a botanical in place of alcohol. These types of drinks recently become like really, really popular. So like the poppers being next to something like that, it doesn't really surprise me that someone would drink it. They are still idiots. You shouldn't fucking do it, especially if you're buying something and you don't know how to use it. You probably shouldn't use it. That's probably the best way to avoid death. But yeah, let's get into it.
Can I ask a question? Let me just ask real quick.
You?
I'm a fiend, right? I'm a degenerate.
What?
Like, I've been into a sex shop a time or two. I've been to a
No.
gas station.
Yeah, you.
Looking out for not me. I've been to a gas station late night, 3 a.m.
Mhm.
It was like, hey, I'm gonna rail this bitch out. Let me
Oh,
go buy
Texas
some
is full of
rhinos.
this shit in the
Rhino
gas
pills.
So, like,
stations.
Rhino
hold
pills.
on. Listen, let me go get some rhinos. Wild time tonight or whatever. Like, let's just go through this. So, whenever y'all sit here and tell me kids can buy this, I ain't never
can't.
once seen no poppers next to no fucking kava drinks, the whatever. They got them stashed behind the thing, and you have to ask them for it. I like maybe not everywhere, but like most places is like that. Let's just be clear on that.
I've never.
I mean, in
Echo,
Texas, they had shrooms next
Echo,
to
you're
dirt weed
muted.
next to crack pipes. I don't know if they're really all that behind the counter.
Well, there's always a shady
So-
place, and that doesn't count.
So
as
like
the norm.
I just
Come on.
I want to point out this concept of like regulation, because there's this idea of like, well, the problem is that they're unregulated, dude. I don't. Maybe Admiral Gibbs, you can back me up on this, because I don't know how many of the other people here have regularly purchased drugs before in their life, right? But like,
No.
if you go buy drugs
In
from a drug
GTA,
dealer, like yeah, if you go buy if you go buy if you go buy acid, for example, right, or mushrooms, and 9 times out of 10, if you're a new person that's never done acid or never done shrooms, your drug dealer is going to be like, hey man, take this much, drink some Coca-Cola, don't take too much. Did you know that mushrooms come in waves? Just because you're not really feeling it in the first half hour, that doesn't mean you need to eat a bunch more. Let it sit in, let it go. Wait till you're a good 2 hours in and you hit your first wave, and if you're still feeling like it ain't shit, then you can take some more, right? So like the very concept of like the drug war and the laws is almost absolutely increasing the danger, right? Because if it was completely unregulated, and unregulated here means government regulation, because the market is a form of regulation, a superior one, I would add. But this regulation is the very fucking reason that like people might buy some shit that they don't know what they're doing. And then the guy behind the counter isn't someone that like regularly sells drugs and is like trying to keep his customers alive and stuff. He's not supposed to say those things. The best thing he could do is like put a poster on the wall about poppers or something, right? Because then he's not actively telling you anything. It just happens to be a poster on the wall. But if you're not reading the fucking package, you're not reading the fucking poster, right? Like, what it needs is deregulation, so that people that sell the shit can be like, hey dude, inhale this, don't fucking drink it, people die that way.
I think when we say, or what, at least for me, when I say regulation, I don't necessarily mean like control every aspect of it, but like I feel like if you have consumable substances like drugs, like, and you can't have them be legal without like some type of regulation in terms of like, you can't have you can't just have prescription drugs in the street without like some type of regulation and have them be legal. And that's kind of like the only thing I mean by like regulate, is like we need to have a way of like,
this is a weird
obviously
fucked up
I disagree
thing.
but
Of
I
course.
just mean I mean that the regulations are part of the problem right now.
Right.
I understand.
I agree with
you.
you. I agree 100% with you, Scott, that the biggest problem is that the regulations surrounding this are so poorly thought out and written, and so ineffective that not only can they just be sold to fucking anybody that walks in, nobody can tell you about, nobody's supposed to tell you about it, and they're probably not going to, because they're going to think you're a fucking fed, and they have no interest in doing that. So it's a weird zone for me. It's like not completely illegal. So you do have to go to the guy who's dealing shrooms out of the back of his van and who was like, "Hey man, do whatever the fuck you said. I haven't done shrooms, so I've got no fucking clue." I got no fucking clue, man. I don't do drugs.
Straight lace motherfuckers. I don't do drugs. Listen, I don't do drugs. Okay, I want to make this very clear. All right, especially for anybody that might be wanting to report me to CPS or some shit. I don't do drugs, but I had a very wild life before I joined the army. All right,
Young boy.
Very, very wild life before I joined the army. So this shit has been, like even chatters, like poppers have been around forever. Okay, like it's only become somewhat of an issue because idiots are buying things without any like I don't know
any
what
idea
the fuck
how to
happened
use them.
Gen Z or something. It's like you guys were all fucking not you obviously, but like stunted by like COVID or something. Like just if you don't know what the fuck something is, Google it, or at the very least read the package. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like our problem here is very clearly much deeper than like poppers not being regulated.
They were eating
appropriately.
Tide Pods, Fabian.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
mean? They were
Right.
literally
Bath
eating
salts.
Tide Pods.
Who thought bath salts was a good idea? Right?
Well, listen, to your point about the van thing, like you're much more likely to be at like a rave or something and see a guy dressed like me, and that's the guy you're gonna buy the sex drugs from. You're gonna go up to him,
On
he's like,
GTA.
oh yeah, he's got the GTA.
No offense.
Like-
No offense. I would not buy the
Nah,
sex drugs from you.
Yeah, that's who
at
you
the
want.
rave.
That's who you want. That's who you want to buy them from.
He'd at least know where to get them from.
Oh, he definitely knows where to get
Hold
them
on,
from.
hold on.
My
I can't.
experience-
Hold on. For real talk. We were talking about drug usage, right? There are people that are watching. It's important to note that, like, we are on the internet. We are all streaming, and that sometimes there are kids here. Okay,
Yeah.
like. Listen, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do drugs. I'm not saying any of that. But what I will say is don't buy drugs from fucking strangers at a rave. Okay, if you're gonna do drugs and you absolutely feel you have to do drugs, right? You probably already have a friend that has a connection with somebody and you can do it ahead of time. I understand that like getting drugs into a rave can be difficult, and so you're like, I don't want to bring drugs, but then there are people be selling them there. But I'm telling you, that is a really, really, really bad idea to get drugs and buy them from strangers. Those people don't give a fuck about you. Those people are way more risky and do a lot of dangerous shit because those are the
And
types
feds.
of people that sell drugs at raves. Like,
And feds.
well, I mean, feds don't give a fuck about selling drugs to random people at raids. I mean, sure, it happens, but more often than not, they're looking for bigger fish to fry.
Sure.
But
I'm
please,
being facetious because we are on the internet.
Don't do drugs from people that you don't know, that don't, at the very least, like someone that you know has gotten drugs from them before. Please.
So I'm actually curious as to like where you guys or these people have seen poppers being sold at like gas stations and shit, like by the 5-hour energy drinks. Because my experience, it's not like it's not raves. I'm sure they sell these at raves. It's just you go to some shady sex shop in town, not one of the big ones, usually one of the smaller ones, and they have them on the counter or behind the counter next to this fucking goat weed and the sex chocolates, right? Like it's not that mysterious or complicated. Typically when you ask for them, they'll ask you if you know what they are, if you know how to use them, and then you say yes or no, and that's it, right? Like this shit's, I mean, my wife and I were in Utah, right? In our last stay in Utah, we decided to visit some sex shops around the town. And yeah, they had them there, and we got one, right? And it wasn't like a big thing. It was just a little fucking bottle and we asked for it because she wanted to.
If it wasn't a big thing,
around.
what do you need poppers for?
No, he's saying
Fuck
the
you.
bottle
Fuck
wasn't
you.
big.
No, I mean, no, that's not
It's
what
a
I mean. I mean, the
bottle
Good. It went over my head.
it wasn't like we were doing a fucking secret drug deal, right? Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It was just it's right on the counter next to all the other shit. You ask for it. They ask you if you know how to use it. You say yes, and that's it. Like it's not that big.
It's not only at sex shops. So like the past I want to say 10 years, head shops head shops, smoke shops, and even vape shops. I've been selling kava and kratom and all these
that's pretty prominent.
yeah, botanical herbs and such. So like, it's not unlikely that you go to like a head shop or a vape shop even, and you're like, they have kava, they have kratom, and then they're also gonna have like, once again, the feel free drink that I just had. So there's gonna be all these botanical herb drinks that are meant to like replace alcohol, and so like, it isn't really too uncommon to see like poppers in that like vicinity with these things. And it's not that like 18 or like 15-year-olds are going, because like you can't even buy a vape at 15. They are, you know, especially if you're going to a good hot shop or whatever, they're IDing. But it is that like there are people who kind of walk in and they're looking around. They're like, "What the fuck is this feel free drink?" And then the counter person tells them, "Oh, it's just, you know, you drink it and it makes you feel like calm and relaxed." And it's like they don't know what they're selling, right? It's just like some 19-year-old fucking stoner who's just behind the counter, and they'll just sell you a popper with the feel free, and now you drink one or the other. So it's like more people are dumb.
To be fair, having some dude at a sex store walk you around and explain the sex toys to you, which my wife and I also did in Utah. I went to like
awkward as fuck.
Okay, not only was this guy looked like he looked like a fucking child molester. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah,
okay, he looked like
he works at a sex shop.
But no, but it was like one of the, I think it was like the Hustler store or something that we're at, right? And my wife wanted to pick up a toy, so we were wandering around the store, trying to find something we don't already have because we have a ton of shit and we're on vacation. And yeah, we're looking at different things. We'd ask him about it, and this guy was just like, it was really fucking awkward. He looked grimy as fuck. Like, I don't know how else to put it. He looked like a very stereotypical guy you'd find jerking off in a movie theater.
Yeah, so less people are likely to ask questions from that guy, right?
So can I piggyback off of like your example, right? Because like,
sure.
So for example, I'm in Richmond City, right? And there are a lot of stores that are run by like families, right? And they have like fucking some random 19-year-old person there that barely speaks English that's just selling shit. Yeah. Right. And they sell all kinds of things behind the counter. And so if a package is obviously, you should read the package, etc. Like, I think the crux of this situation really does come down to the packaging, right? Because if a product doesn't say for inhale use only, right, but instead says something else like, so that it gets away from regulation or skirting, like, shoe cleaner, right? So it doesn't actually say you're supposed to smell this, you're not supposed to drink this. As far as I'm concerned, and this is, might be the wildest take hearing from an ANCAP, right? To me, that constitutes some level of fraud, right? That a product is being sold as one thing with an intentional secret use for another thing. Yeah. That doesn't explain what the product does or allow people that might not be aware of what the dangers of using a product inappropriately are, is. So if we're talking about something that says inhalation use only, do not drink, then like, I'm sorry, that's on you, buyer beware, right?
Oh, I agree.
But if we're talking about something that is sold that doesn't have those instructions, is sold almost like a secret other product next to other sex things, and of course it might be sold by, maybe this is a little racist, but let's just be honest, Habib at the fucking local corner store, right? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't fucking know. He's just selling shit.
The royal honey is fake. The royal honey is
right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't.
And so, like, I think
agree with you.
And so I think in terms of regulation that I would find acceptable, right, is I would say that you have a court case, and so long as we're not allowed to fucking take people to court outside of the justice system, right, that I do think that there is some form of a court case if your kid ends up dying from like buying some random shit that in no way, shape, or form tells them they're not supposed to drink it.
All right, that's fair.
Hold on. That's like not.
So,
that's I might disagree with you a little on this one. Like I actually want to argue two things. One, it's a little bit more widespread than Doobie's maybe experience is. I can tell you, I'm not saying every gas station. Yeah. Like here, but I could go to like I'd say at least 75% of them.
Insane.
And they will have them at the gas station, right? Yeah, at the gas station. Like normal mom and pop gas stations, normal Valeros, like Flying J's. They will have them behind the counter at a gas station. Like you can go now. You have to ask for them, and they're not going to sell to somebody under 18. But you have to ask. It's just like if you go to buy paint, right? You have to have an ID and all the stuff that's behind the counter. It's a little thing. There's no way you can just get confused and not know what you're asking for, right? But it is very prominent. It's all in place. If you go to a sex shop, they have a popper section. Like there's a section, and they got about 600 of them. Right,
it's right next to the nitrous.
Right, yeah, they all sorts of stuff, and they will like be like, this is whatever, kind of thing. And it is a lot like you described the K2. I remember they had like the V8, and the V8 one was like you break it open, it had the little white squares in it. Oh, this is the potpourri one that you're supposed to crush up the white square and then light it. That'll get you real fucked up, right? And so like they have all these little different things, and they'll be like, oh yeah, usually when we use this in the potpourri, you crush it up before you light it for smelling intake. Like they'll tell you that, and it'll have the instructions for like how you are supposed to use it.
Like how smoke stops used to call them tobacco pipes instead of bombs.
And it'll be like, right, yeah, it'll be like how you use it, but it also will give you the high if you're trying to use it in the nefarious manner. So whenever y'all are acting like it's like, oh, Sally, the 16-year-old, walked in and goes, ha, I'm on my day off, and that's not what's happening. What's happening is these people are getting fucked up, and they're going, I want to chase the dragon, and they're like, I wonder what happens if I drink it because it's already giving me this high.
For sure.
That's what's happening way more than like, accidentally.
Can I clarify what I'm saying? I'm not saying like we need to go after everybody for fraud because it says shoe leather. What I'm saying is, or shoe cleaner, right? What I'm saying is that there are cases, right, where people like, however extremely unlikely and rare, but if that case occurs, right, where someone goes to some shop, right, and sees like some other sex stuff or like some kratom or something, it's like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh, this is a relaxant thing.
For the record.
Right. It's like this is a for sure. This is a relaxant. It helps you feel good, right? And then they buy it, and then the packaging doesn't fucking say anything about breathing only, right? And then they drink it. That I think in those very unlikely but edge cases, there is something here that would constitute fraud. Right now, I agree with you that like that's not your typical situation, and that's probably not why people are being, harmed. It's probably people being crazy, chasing the dragon, as you say, so to speak. Trying to get it even better, fun, or just people being high on other shit, right? And like just being completely stupid, right? But nevertheless, I'm just saying that there could be edge cases.
I think you guys are being very charitable.
Fraud case in that regard.
I think you guys are being very charitable.
I don't think so.
I just posted a picture in the Discord of some of these bottles. It's crazy. They literally look like 5-hour energy.
But they're this. Okay, hold on. That's not true. Listen, those bottles you just posted, the 5-hour energy bottles are this big, right? Yeah. These bottles are like this big. Like, there's no way you're getting confused. When you see
that's okay.
Like, I know it doesn't look, but it's like this big, and like a 5-hour energy bottle is like yay big around. This thing is like maybe like this big around. Like it's tiny.
I have no idea. It just says that they're the same size.
If you just look at a photo like it looks like it. But in reality, 90% of the time, they're way smaller. And then the ones that are bigger look way more like the Kava bottles than the. They look like one of those little old school elixir bottles than they do the.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I just see a bunch of pictures of room odorizers. I wonder if you can.
Right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. Yeah, room odorizer. Yeah, you need that. Put that in your car, and it'll make it smell better.
Grid, we'll have to take you out. We'll show you.
And apparently, there's a producer of them in Texas called Double Scorpio. That sounds like something.
I'm sure that they don't have any lobbyists in the Texas legislature at all. I'm sure.
I don't want one Scorpio around me, much less double. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that sounds like something. That sounds like a Gibbs company.
Listen, that's neither here nor there. Don't worry about it.
Comcast got bored and checked out. Look at his ass.
He just I'm going to see if they're selling shares.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I had not. So this was something I had never even.
I'm feeling the itch.
Existed.
I'm literally right here. But you guys apparently have had a lot to say on this one, which is being quite convenient for me. But I did want to, with our remaining time, talk about like regulating it as a party drug versus like hard drugs, like with like crack cocaine, right? Like there are, I think we can at least fair to say, like different drugs have vastly different effects, and their danger levels are vastly different. Currently, we do have different schedules, right? We have different schedules for different drugs. But like, oftentimes in our conversations, we say, like we want to legalize drugs. Should we legalize all drugs? Or should we just say that some things are just far more too dangerous. Crack cocaine may be one of them, and I'm sure you guys can come up with other ones like maybe black tar heroin or some shit like that. And treat that differently. Thoughts?
What's the difference though? Like, I guess this is my question when you say that, Brian. What's the difference? Like, I would say, like, arguably, most uppers and most hallucinogens should be classified as party drugs, right? Like, that would probably fit what I would idea of what a party drug would be. Maybe even some like relaxers. Those would probably fall in. Like, what is like maybe not heroin though? That seems like it's a lot worse. Like, what is the degree of bad? I feel like people smoke crack at a party. Like, you go to a fucking like party, they're smoking some rocks. I mean, maybe not. I've never seen that, but like, I mean, if it was a different area. But if I go to a party, I definitely see people railing lines of cocaine. That's a party drug. Like, what do you like? What is the like? What are you calling like the line here? I guess is what I want to know.
I think that's isn't that what he's asking?
I'm not making the line. Yeah, I'm allowing you guys to make it. Yeah.
He's asking what's your line. Like, well, yeah, I give you proposing like creating a new class or new schedule, party drugs, and these are legal, or what?
I mean, I would propose we deregulate them all. And if people want to kill themselves with drugs, we let them kill
Okay, so
themselves.
just
And we don't spend my taxpayer dollars
Sure,
on welfare
okay,
to rehabilitate them.
okay, so just to
Agreed.
see exactly where your line that includes like all drugs, as in like benzos, okay, opioids, fentanyl, all prescription drugs.
Sure.
Okay, that's like that's where I said in my opening statement. I have a hard time like no one should go to, in my mind, to prison for consuming things. But like, yeah, I don't necessarily want
Well,
fentanyl
like-
at the corner store or at the gas station.
Corey, what's the
I don't
difference
want-
between like if I want to
So
do a
hold on.
party drug? Well, let me just ask Corey this real quick. Corey, what's the difference if I do a party drug, right? Or I'm a hypochondriac and I want to go take antibiotics I shouldn't be, and I just want to take a bunch of them. Like, fundamentally, if I'm saying deregulate all drugs, I don't really see a difference between a hypochondriac who wants to take 16 pounds of penicillin. I don't know what that would do to you, or the guy that wants to fucking smoke crack. I don't think there's a difference.
Well, I'm gonna be a nerd, but
see
I
a
do have
difference?
I do have an issue of people not appropriately taking antibiotics and contributing to antibiotic resistance. But obviously, that's like a separate thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
But like,
Just look at Peru. Peru is a problem now.
yeah, like I there's a line. I don't know where it is. I constantly go back and forth in terms of how to deal with the problem. But at least as of right now, I'm definitely not on your side of just like, what do you
Well, do you see
consume,
there's a
whatever you
fundamental
want.
difference between the two, though? Is I guess what I'm asking. Do you see a fundamental difference between like a guy who wants to like do party drugs and a guy that's a hypochondriac that wants to take a bunch of, I don't know, penicillin?
Yeah, I do, in terms of like using your example of penicillin versus whatever. I don't know anything about party drugs, at least not personally. But the LD50s are certainly different, and so the ability to overdose and die is empirically different in my mind. And I think that needs to be weighted. But
Well, see, I would say that the drug illegalization, right, is a large portion of the drug deaths and the gang violence in this country. Obviously, I mean, I feel like that's a argument as old as time, or at least as old as the drug war, right? But in terms of the danger of the drugs, like this is one of my things I'm fairly passionate about in terms of what I think is, you see a lot of libertarians and lefties and a lot of people supporting drug legalization, but they only support decriminalization. And I think this is actually the worst thing you can do. I think it's actually worse than the war on drugs, because when you have drug decriminalization for small usage, what do you get? Well, what you get is you don't get any of the benefits of legalization. You don't get companies that test drugs. You don't get rate my drug dealer apps on iPhone so that people know when someone is selling bad drugs and when someone's selling good. You don't get businesses that allow people to go off to the side to do drugs. What you end up with is you end up with the public property problem, right? If public property is, everyone can be on public property, then everyone can fucking smoke J's and fucking leave their dirty needles and shit at playgrounds or at parks or on the side of the road, right? And so what you get is a total disorder, because what you have done is you have allowed one criminal element to exist by criminalizing the drug supply chain and usage and private property to be able to deal with this. And instead you haven't actually done anything to solve the problem. All you've done is cause disorder in the community for a whole host of reasons. Like, if I want drugs to be legal from the bottom up for a reason. One is I don't want fucking cartels getting money from this revenue source. But apart from that, I want people to be able to rate their drug dealers. I want private property owners to say, no fucking drugs here, you degenerate fucks. Get out of my community. And I want people to be able to utilize services that just like you Yelp at a restaurant, and a restaurant has a 1-star review and you don't go there because you might get food poisoning. I don't want people going to drug dealers because he's got a 1-star review and you're probably going to fucking OD on fentanyl. And we're seeing now where drugs, being pushed into the gray market or into the black market means that drug dealers are people that are criminals. They take on the risk of crime and they're willing to take on the risk of crime. So the people that are drug dealers are less likely to inform people about safe practices and things than companies that are competing and that want to keep their customers alive and healthy, as opposed to just have them go down a spiral or have them OD on some random shit. I think the drug war, but also decriminalization only for low offense drugs leads to bad outcomes. I agree. I have toddlers. I don't want to live in a community full of a bunch of crackheads. I don't want that shit around me either. But that's an issue of communities having the ability to engage in their private property rights and rights of association. That's not something the drug war has ever solved. It's never solved this problem of drugs in the community. Instead, all it's done is make it go underground, make it worse, and make the worst degenerates of our society be the ones that engage in risky behavior that leads to dangers and deaths and overdoses. Like, I don't want that shit around me. I don't want that shit around my kids. But that doesn't mean that the right answer is using the state to solve it. The state has failed this, and they have shown for the last 70 years that they have failed at this. It's time for a change, and low-level decriminalization is not good enough. In fact, it comes with a host of other problems.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with what you outlined, Scott, and I understand sort of your overall worldview and the type of world that you want to curate. But assuming, let's say, as of right now, if we can only change one thing, as in keeping the status quo, but we change this one variable, as in you would potentially be in favor of legalizing all drugs, and therefore anyone can go get prescription drugs, or they're no longer prescription.
Yeah, like I understand I'm not going to live in fucking Ancapistan tomorrow. What I'm saying is like, when you look at the history of drug legalization, right? When you have full legalization, you get a lot less problems than when you have low, like personal use decriminalization. Because like we can look at like Oregon or was it Washington? Sorry, right? What happened when they legalized drugs in Washington is you don't get any of the good benefits of drug legalization. Like I said, a red light district, people, businesses being able to have places for it, et cetera. Instead, what you got is a whole bunch of homeless people that are transient flooded to the area, right? You got people utilizing drugs on public property. You had, and like the cops not being able to do anything about it because they can't actually go after in any meaningful way the chain, because now they're shackled by the decriminalization aspect, but also they have to try and go after the supply chain. And so you have drug usage going up. But when you see other countries in places like Portugal that embrace an understanding that like you can't half-ass this, you either have to fully legalize it or you have to fully criminalize it, you see much, much better results. And yeah, so if I could change one thing, I only got one magic wand, right? It only has one charge, if you will. I would get rid of the public parks, public roads, and public property in that regard, so that then private property owners could decide who the fuck they want on the road, who the fuck they want in their park, who the fuck they want in these places, and then we could actually maintain order instead of this bullshit melting pot public property where everybody gets to kind of utilize and be degenerate or, take their kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Other people? Great. Oh.
Sorry.
Did you want to jump in on the hard drugs?
Yeah. I agree that decriminalization is not really the answer. Just making them. When I say make drugs legal, I actually do mean some regulation, but regulation that makes sense, such as. Yeah, I don't, it's cool to smoke pot in your house, not on your front lawn, or maybe on your front lawn, but not in a public place, not, that kind of thing, because I don't want my kids seeing it. And actually, I was at the apartment in New Jersey, and they just decriminalized pot. And my wife and son and I were walking down to this like little weekly farmers market kind of thing they have in this little area. And it was like I could barely walk because of the smell of pot in the air. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, why are these people not in their homes if they want to get high?
Well, unfortunately, like the same argument's gonna be in for
They don't
alcohol,
smell
right?
in their home.
No, they're gonna be people who like are like, yo, I don't want my kids to be like seeing people who are drunk or like out and like.
I agree with that. I don't want to see public drunk. Yeah. We have public drunken laws here, like 100%. That you will get arrested if you look drunk.
Aren't you in? I don't want to.
Well, you'll get put in the drunk. We have what's called a drunk.
Not in Nashville, right?
Just outside of
Nashville. There's probably. Okay, yeah. I was saying no. Nashville, there isn't open drunkenness laws, I would assume.
But hold on. These are two different things.
I'm just asking.
With alcohol, you're talking about how much you can consume, right? And with drugs, often you're talking about whether you can consume. So, is it okay if you go?
I think okay. So, like your argument for
these new movie theaters now, where you can have a couple of beers, like while you watch the movie, right? But there's going to be kids in there too. Is it okay to drink a beer in front of a kid?
Like restaurants,
we actually still have the paper bag laws here. We still have the paper bag laws here, iCal. You can't have.
Not these. What if I go outside my front yard and smoke a cigarette?
I can only hear one guy.
My next door neighbor's got kids, right? If I go outside my front yard and I smoke a cigarette, should I get a crime because I'm in my front yard smoking a cigarette?
No, you're on your property. Yeah, you're cool.
So, like, what's the difference between that and marijuana?
If you're on your porch, nothing. But if you're out on a sidewalk, that changes things. You've now gone from, as Scott would say, public to private property.
Yeah,
that's
so
fair.
Would you say that
if your neighbor can go on his porch and smoke a doobie, then that's consistent with drinking a beer or having a cigarette. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think people should be walking with like beer cans. So like, yeah, smoking. I do think it's like a little bit annoying when like I smoke weed. I don't go, but like when like I'm out like in a city and just like before I walk into a store, before I walk into a train, and just like a heavy. I'm like that is kind of obnoxious to those who don't like it. I can understand that.
Yeah, it's a public nuisance.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah.
So, like, a car is the extension of your home in a lot of states, right? Should you be allowed to smoke in your car? Okay. So, if you open up your door to your car,
well, you shouldn't be smoking. I mean,
listen,
I don't know.
You don't even have to be smoking. You can hotbox your car and just reek of weed off your shirt and go somewhere, like go to a mall and you're just literally heaving. You don't even have to be actively smoking. It is just obnoxious. It is just obnoxious. That's it.
This is why I have to. I know it's people hate it when I do this, but like this is why I say libertarianism is inherently right wing and discriminatory. Okay, this is a cultural problem, and it's a cultural problem as far as I'm concerned that stems from public property. When public property exists and all of a sudden the public property has to accommodate to everybody's fucking interests and everybody's fucking values and everybody's freedom to do what they want to do, it is inherently conflict inducing, because I don't want to go out. Like we used to have a culture that was able to maintain a lot of things. Like there was a lot of bad shit with 1950s, 1940s, 1930s culture, 1960s. There's been a lot of bad cultural shit throughout the history. I'm not saying make America great again. Let's go back to the exact culture we had in 1950. But what I am saying is that there used to be something called couth, right? There used to be fucking class. There used to be an understanding that certain shit was done at home and other shit wasn't done in public. And it is this idea that like public property is for everyone to utilize so long as you're not physically violent against somebody is a fucking problem as far as I'm concerned. Like, yes, I don't think the state ought to use guns to fucking stop people from smoking weed in their fucking car. But maybe if they're driving, there's some argument about being intoxicated.
Yeah, you get into the impairment.
But right. But some people are probably going to drive fucking better if they're a little high, especially if they're a pothead, right? But a certain level is obviously going to be a problem.
Sure.
What I'm saying instead is that like, if you just had private property and private roads and private sidewalks and private parks, you could have a fucking park where you allow degeneracy and fucking bullshit like that to occur. And then you can have a park that says none of this shit. And guess what? You're on private property now. You don't follow the fucking rules, we kick you out. And if you refuse to get out, we use police and we force you out. We have pushed so many things. Feminism.
Yeah.
We have pushed fucking, this libertine idea of freedom, and it is like freedom in and of itself comes with a responsibility of the people within the community to police each other via cultural means. And so we have lost part of that, and now we just have open bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if you want to smoke weed, you should have the freedom to do that. But there is a serious problem that we have to discuss. When you pull up at the Wawa because you had to hotbox your car.
No TikToks in public. No TikToks.
There's just all of these things that like we used to understand was something that you did fucking behind closed doors and what didn't have to be out in the open, and we have lost that. And part of that is this like libertine idea of like live.
With that, like values change. We used to have an open air slave market.
We used to have open air.
Well, hold on.
But really though, what is your argument? Like our values change.
Listen, even then we had the decency to keep them out of Washington, D.C. Like that was a big fight, even when we had open air slave markets.
Atlanta only exists because
come on.
That's not everything of every culture is good. What I'm saying is that like this constant usage of like dumb shit in public that is assaulting like people. Like I don't want to fucking smell your weed smoke, but I don't have the freedom to be able to control that within my community.
Suck it up because goddamn, bro, like I don't want to see people driving around with the color purple maybe sometimes. Like
that's kind of I hate bumper stickers with a fucking passion.
If you had a private road, you could ban purple cars if that was really your fucking problem.
I agree. You can do that. I don't have a problem with private roads.
Purple stream backgrounds.
Well,
like,
hold on.
It's like, holy shit.
Purple.
You're just over here like, bro, you're literally equivalent to an old man shaking his hand and his fist at these kids.
It took him a minute.
We're having fun.
Hey, I gotta say,
what I'm saying is,
hold on.
Private property would allow those places to exist.
Sure,
but instead,
but
we
also have
everyone to be in part of those places.
Right, but hold on. In polite society, and I'm not saying that my society is particularly polite, we still have brown bag laws so that you are not allowed to leave a convenience store with a single container of beer, not in a bag. And if you get caught drinking said beer on a sidewalk, walking down the street, standing in a park, where the label's visible as it being a beer, the cops can give you a ticket. It's the same thing if you're, it's the same thing if you're if you're smoking in specific areas, they'll give you a ticket. And here we actually still do that. We actually, I agree that in most places in the country,
what I'm saying is fuck that. What I'm saying is the
I understand what you're saying,
conflict is created by having public roads. No, it's not.
Grid. Let me ask you a question. Grid. All right, so have you ever been to like a gala or like a banquet or like a business meeting, like at like a fancy hotel or ballroom like before for any kind of like event?
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever gone to the bathroom and wondered why they have mirrors above the fucking toilets?
I've never seen mirrors above the toilets in any of the.
Well, I have. It's a thing in a classic.
That's a very strange thing.
You know why?
Do
you know why that is? Do you know why they have those at these places? Because you're doing cocaine in the stalls. Like, don't tell me these are some of the nicest places in the world. So, like, you're telling me in polite society? No, in polite society they have powder rooms, literally to powder your nose, and it's not just for your face, like the women. So, like, you're sitting here telling me bullshit.
Women can't do cocaine, Admiral?
I've never seen.
Nice fancy places are just as bad in encouraging the degeneracy. It's just the accepted degeneracy that you're okay with. That's what we're having right now.
No, what I'm saying, and I understand that Grid and I have different positions.
Well, you said polite
by the way, if that were the case, Gibbs, that's in private. It's not a public facility, and therefore, what Scott said holds true. It's private property. They can allow that.
Sure. Nobody's arguing the point. My point was what you said about polite society. I have been to like city galas. I've been to
Sure. But
like
in public, we still have public. We still have public indecency here. We have public drunk. We have like there's a lot of things that you can't do and be a functioning member of our society, my community. Now, I don't know what communities you guys live in. Apparently, I know that I've been to New Jersey and I've seen dudes sitting there smoking blunts while we walk by with a cop car parked 15 feet away and just zero fucks given. And so,
you know, I'm saying, I'm just saying, you said in polite society they don't do this, and it's a very like established norm in like upper class communities that hey, these people do coke in the bathrooms. Like that's
and I don't care what people do in the privacy of their own home.
In the bathroom.
I think
I don't think the bathroom even worse. Yeah, even better. That's the first time I've agreed with Corey Campbell. Somebody write that shit down.
Gibbs, I don't think when he said polite society, he meant like well-to-do, wealthy society. I think he was just using a phrase about, you know, places with some level of class, etc. I understand that, you know, Hillary Clinton in the woods doing cocaine, you know, while fucking worshiping the goddamn owl statue is technically polite society because that's where all the elites are. But like, you know, and if they want to do that, if they want to do that in their fucking private property with their fucking owl statue, then have at it. If they want to have, you know, that fucking Mira, whatever her name is, you know, that like does that crazy art, like, you know, eating fucking food off of like, you know, aborted baby women or whatever fucking crazy shit she wants to do this month, like do it behind closed doors. My argument is very simple, right? When you have a public sidewalk, when you have a public park, when you have public roads, right? These are conflict inducing. And the reason they are conflict inducing inherently is that some people want to get to and from work one way, and some people want to get to and from work a different way. And it's impossible to make everybody happy in that regard. Only under private property can you make can you not have a conflict inducing system. And so my issue is there is this freedom, if you will, to smoke weed or to do some level of drugs, and then you have this public property that exists. What ends up happening in a community is that we're forcibly, we are all forcibly subjected to public property that we use to get to work, or that we, you know, pay taxes for so that we can take our kids to a park or whatever. And there is all of these elements that we don't want in our society or within our community that we have no choice in now. If we want to get to work, we have to go through the place that smells like fucking weed and you know, and has fucking homeless tent city with some dude strung out on the side of the road. What I'm saying is that is the real problem when it comes to understanding drugs as an issue in society, in our culture, is that public property is where that conflict is. And for years, we settled this by saying all drugs are illegal because we don't want that. And now we're looking at the damage of that and going, well, we should start legalizing these things. But the problem is that legalization comes with other problems because the public property is still there. And the other problems is strung out fucking dudes practicing what an L shape looks like in the alphabet with their own fucking body on the side of the goddamn road because that's public property. There's not a goddamn thing I can do about it except try and fucking navigate the maze of degeneracy with my fucking kids on the way to the park. And it's bullshit.
Pobrecito.
I mean, I think that's fair. I get what you're trying to say. That there's a level of sacrifice that happens. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't back the whole public-private thing.
We live in a society, guys.
There's conflict when we have other people around, and we have to navigate spaces that they're in. And it's fair to say that we want spaces that are safe and welcoming to families, to people of all ages, really, right?
That's racist. That's called white flight. You're not allowed to do that.
Oh my God. So we want spaces that we can have spaces that are adult spaces, but then we can put them in a very separate, specific area, right? But like now we have, like I hate it too when I like smell weed. I don't want to be smelling people's weed. That's just really annoying. But it's a conflict that happens when you are in a place with multiple people. And you just have to navigate these things. Doobie, if you're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts specifically? I feel like you've had an exciting life. And
Add
like,
past tense. No more excitement.
oh, I mean, he's married now and he's got a kid on the way.
Buying poppers in
past tense.
Utah.
Well, poppers. That was a while ago, right? That was a while ago. That trip was months ago.
That's why he has a kid on the way.
A while ago was months ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm saying, because I'm saying, like, I don't know.
That's misinformation. Poppers does not lead to having kids. All right, quite the opposite.
Oh boy. But I don't think she was pregnant on the Utah trip.
Guys, we don't have to dig this deep. I was just making a joke.
Poppers are for anal sex, but
There we
they
go.
weren't for her.
Okay, all right.
Big doobs.
So
They weren't for me, Scott. I saw the face. They weren't for me either.
Okay, well,
Well, that wasn't usually specific.
well, DB, you had a life, okay? All right. We know he had a life. We don't know if he has a life ongoing. Okay. So, all right.
Okay.
In any case, like, what are your thoughts? Considering your experiences, how would you deal with this?
So deal with poppers?
No,
No, I mean, just
weed smoke.
the party drug, hard drug dynamic that I laid out before. Like, would you make a difference between these two things? Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're going to allow alcohol, we can allow poppers. I think that and like I said earlier, I think you get a similar effect from alcohol. It just takes longer, and if you're getting into a car in the next 3 hours after that, you're probably going to cause a car accident. Right? I think poppers is again, I've never taken it myself, but from what I've witnessed, seems to have like a shorter duration but more intense effect within, like, especially at the start of the short duration. It doesn't seem to me to be as bad as something like alcohol. In fact, I'm sure it's not. I know that alcohol kills thousands of people every year. Not just in car accidents, but it contributes to like tons of assaults and murders, etc. Like domestic violence, etc. So if we're going to allow that, I think we can allow people to have their poppers and their sex chocolates and their horny goat weeds. I think it's fine.
Sure. Then
It reminds me of
Synthahol.
Synthahol, right? It would also wear off really fast. In Star Trek. Synthahol is what they drink in Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah. But like, what about then cocaine and the rest of them? So are you making a distinction here then? And saying,
what about? I'm sorry, you broke up on my end. What about what in the rest
sure,
of
no
them?
problem. Yeah. I'm saying, what about like what quote unquote hard drugs, however you define that, whether it be cocaine or heroin or whatever in that category? Would you treat them the same?
No, I think that so far as I know, that poppers aren't addictive in the way that hard drugs, quote unquote, are. Like heroin, cocaine, etc. Right. So the chemical dependence that can be formed by those drugs it's just, so far as I know, Corey can probably correct me, does not exist with poppers. So I don't think they're really in the same category at all. In fact,
poppers is like an inhale. It's more like laughing gas or the galaxy gas and shit, right?
I've heard of galaxy gas, but I don't really know what it is.
Shit's way more dangerous than poppers.
Yeah, it's way more dangerous.
Yeah,
but I'm
I don't really know.
I apologize for interrupting, all right? But like, I'm just saying, right? I want to always make sure that I don't put out misinformation when it comes to drugs, right? Galaxy gas and a lot of those other inhalants, like air duster and things like that, are really fucking dangerous. Okay, There's some of the most dangerous drugs in being able to tell when you've had too much. Just throwing that out.
No, but I was saying they're in the same like spectrum, as in like it's not like an addiction factor to it, other than it's a personal addiction like to it. I don't think there's like a withdrawal.
But But anyway, the point is that in terms of their damage to their body, right? Like
Yes.
it strips the mylar off your nerves, right?
Yeah.
Like it's awful. We discussed that actually a few weeks back, right? We talked about laughing gas, galaxy gas,
Galaxy gas, yeah.
and as bad. But yeah, but even then, I and this goes back to Gibbs's point, right? Gibbs was trying to make the point as to like where you draw the line, right? And I get like Ali, you're definitely your initial desire to say, well, maybe this falls in a bit of a more of a gray zone. But like, yeah, like how do you like divide that, right? Like, Galaxy Gas, at least especially initially, doesn't seem nearly as bad. But as our friend Scott tells us, yeah, like it's hard to understand your limits, and it can.
I think
you
I think
up.
the for me it's they're in the same category of like the same people. Like I used to do whippets, and it's like the same category of people who are like going to be like getting poppers, doing it's in that party drug like recreation, right? Recreational like drug category. And so like I guess when we're talking about addiction and like the strength of the drug or how you want to treat it or categorize it, for me, I would put whippets in the same regards of like poppers, in the sense that like there's no physical addiction or withdrawal. It's more of maybe like a mental dependency where it's like you enjoy it a lot and you don't want to stop. And maybe if you want to classify that as like an addiction, more that to me is like more like dependency, I guess.
Well,
if there's a distinction,
I think what's important to know.
Very bad to do. My bad. Very bad to do. Don't do
it-
whippets.
Yeah, what I think is important
Whippets
to
seem
know
like a
is that
retarded drug.
Yeah,
again,
they are.
why
They
do
are.
people? The reason people do whippets is because of accessibility, right? The popularity of whippets is a problem that is caused by the drug war. 100%. Like it is like people want to get high. They're gonna get high. If you've ever tried to buy drugs, there are basically two drugs that you can always reliably buy: weed and cocaine. Every other drug other than
And
weed and
caffeine.
cocaine.
Ketamine too, yeah.
No. Well, I mean like from a drug dealer, right? Like every other drug, the people that sell those drugs are like unreliable, and you need like multiple
Mushrooms. Yeah,
contacts and
mushrooms, that
sources.
category.
Well, mushrooms, if you know somebody, like you can find dependable people.
The point
because,
he's
like some
making
people like have a
is-
grow box,
yeah.
right? Like I understand that, but like if you try and buy like acid, for example, like I have known so many people that have had multiple contacts for acid. Those people
Yeah.
fucking disappear, or then you get them, and then all of a sudden it's like they show up 4 hours late, right? And then you end up fucking doing like triple C's from fucking CVS or something instead. Like what I'm trying to say is that
Wait, hold on. Drug dealers
if
aren't
we had
reliable.
Well, some drug dealers are a lot more reliable than others. People that sell
Okay.
weed and
I'm
cocaine,
new
cocaine
to this.
especially.
I'm sorry.
People that sell cocaine are super fucking reliable because their clientele have money, and because they usually have a source that is, a very large
Really
drug
fucking
supply chain.
serious. Yeah.
If they're
And
not
again, they're very
patient, and
serious.
they're not patient.
What was the point you were
Yeah,
trying
and
to
they're
make
not
with
patient.
the
What I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is that a large inherent risk to drugs, especially some of these drugs that are like silly, that you're like, why do people do whippets, is because of the black market.
Yeah.
If you have these things legalized, then you could have, not only would you have cocaine reliably, for example, let's just take cocaine, right? But you would have packages that have exact measurements and exact measurements, both of their strength, of their purity, and of their weight, of their consistency. You would have that with every drug. And so you would not have random fentanyl overdoses. You would, obviously you would have overdoses from people that relapse, right? Because they think they can take the same amount that they took before, and it turns out they don't have that same dependency, or people, want to kill themselves and they don't care. You're obviously still going to have ODs, but what I'm saying is that part of the danger is not knowing how much you can take, not knowing how pure your drug is, not knowing, going to some other drug because you couldn't get access to your drug
saying
dealer,
weed
et cetera,
regulations
and
help.
doing some crazy shit.
Weed regulations did kind of like everything, right? Well, you may not like it, but like weed became legal, and then they regulated it, and now you go to the dispensaries, or you go to even like street dealers. Their packages are professional packages with the weight. They're getting their tests done, so on and so forth. Mainly dispensaries, but so it's kind of a little bit like the regulations did help in that regard, or do you think it didn't help in that regard? So like weed legalization and it being regulated the way it is, like, do you think that could apply to other drugs or no?
I wouldn't credit the regulation with what's doing that. I think what I would credit is legalization, allowing people to open dispensaries. And I think
the regulations mandated like testing, right? And then like if you're mandated to test, you might as well post the results. And that's kind of what I mean.
Right. But like when you're selling to like in a let's say we go back to like the DARE era, right? Those people care a lot less than when all of a sudden it's become more socially acceptable and it has also become
1000%.
legal and such percent. And like your typical like mom that doesn't want to do painkillers because she has arthritis but wants to smoke weed, she values knowing the strength of what she's about to take. She wants to know how many milligrams are in this gummy because she doesn't like smoking because it's icky, and like she wants to feel better because her arthritis feels bad, but she doesn't want to take benzos because benzos are 100 times worse than weed. And so she goes and gets a medical card, and she doesn't want to fucking take a star of death by accident when she's got her fucking kids coming over, right? Like she wants her fucking. It's a 200 milligram thing that like Joey Diaz made famous because he would switch out with people and stuff. But it's a 200 milligram THC brownie that is like insanely powerful. Right? Like she doesn't want that. She wants a 25 milligram fucking gummy that she can eat and like take the edge off of. Right. And so I think part of the legalization is what did that more than the regulation forcing testing.
Great. Okay. We gotta take Grit out to the club and to the smoke shop one day and let him experience the wild side. I think that would help you really get some perspective on things.
I got to be honest with you. This has been educational.
How can you judge something unless you've tried it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go pick up some rhino pills from the gas station.
I don't have to have anal sex.
Do you have an opinion on dog sex? My follow-up question would be: how can you judge something if you haven't tried it?
Listen, there's obviously lines and whatnot. It's all gray areas.
What about
I think you've been doing some lines. That's one thing we're going to agree on this one.
Yeah. Okay.
He sent me a picture of the mirror, by the way. That's insane, man. That's insane. What the hell? It's
little do you know what happens in polite society.
Yeah, polite society. This guy needs maybe a
That's not polite. That's guys paying $200,000 a plate for fucking dinner with a star.
That's real uppity polite society.
Uppity. That's uppity. That's what that is. That is uppity. That is uppity. That's what the fuck that is. Holy shit.
Right. So we've reached right on time. Reached the end of our stream, at least this portion of it. So I want to respect this time and allow them to get out of here. So I'm going to give an outro to all these guys. I never gave you an intro, so I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to do that. We'll start. I'll stick around for a bit if people want to talk. We'll start with our friend Scott, who we've missed. I did really miss you, friend. I'm really glad you're here. Sincerely,
appreciate it.
I'm glad he's not sick anymore.
COVID. I had COVID. You know, I don't know, like the fucking 118th version of it, whatever. It took me out for a while. And before you guys in chat start bitching about whether or not I'm vaccinated, fuck you. I'm not vaccinated. I have an enlarged aortic valve. So even if I believed in getting vaccinated as this great thing, I still fucking couldn't get one anyways. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm Fabian Liberty, anarcho-capitalist. I do some debates. I do some reactions. I do some, a lot of weird philosophical, niche shit on my channel as well. And if you're really, really fucking nerdy and just
$9.99 comes in from Joseph Newton. No real pothead is buying their weed from a dispensary.
Destiny hasn't responded to my DM. He said he was available Tuesday.
Typical.
And then he just left it. So I don't know if he's gonna puss out.
Typical.
He left you on red, bro.
But I'm supposed to debate Destiny. Yeah. Long story short, where we were talking earlier about the oh my god, Muhammad Kamil or whatever.
Mahmoud, yeah.
I can't remember his name right now.
Mahmoud, yeah.
like he put up some Asmongold thing because he was trying to snipe at Asmongold, and he was like, Asmongold, well, you know, when it's free speech in Europe, and it's like him like reacting, and then he did, and he's like, but when it's in America, and he's like trying to say that Asmongold like doesn't believe in his free speech in any way, and I was like, hey, dude, you know, people getting arrested for mean tweets is a little fucking different than like this situation. Like you can still disagree with it. That doesn't make him a hypocrite. And then he basically like responded and was like, I'll do this when they go after green card holders or January 6th. So I called him out for his bullshit framing and talking about like whataboutism. And then he got real mad and was like, fuck you, blah, blah. And then I was like, and then eventually said he'd debate me Tuesday. And then I DM'd him and he hasn't answered. So either he's going to debate me Tuesday or he's going to puss out, which is tomorrow. He still hasn't answered. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's moderating?
Stories, bro.
The start
Who's
of the
moderating?
recording that came out. That'd be really fun.
You said start with what? I missed.
Start of the cherry recording.
Yeah, the cherry recording.
Who-
where he
who's
recorded
moderating?
without consent, and the start of it was.
Why would I?
released.
Why? Wait. Why
It'd
would
be
I
really
fucking?
funny? It'd be really, really funny.
That would be me sharing. I don't want to do what he did that requires him to get the best lawyer money can buy in the world to try and get away from his sex pest behavior by then doing the same crime, which is
Probably not
sharing
wise.
things without consent.
Technically, yes, but the start of it is it's only 30 seconds,
Technically.
and there's no sexual content in there. It's just the start of their conversation that led to the sex. The thing that he claimed he didn't do is out there. So yeah,
So,
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
Scott, who's going to moderate if you do debate him?
He's
I
just
don't
gonna
think
go on
there's a
his
moderator.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go on.
It's not an actual debate.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just me like.
I mean,
just
like I
humbling.
say, he didn't respond to DMs, so I didn't bring it up because I'm not trying to be like, you know, like clout goblin, like I'm
Oh,
watching you
gotcha.
debate Destiny tomorrow, blah blah blah. But you asked. So.
Yeah, I got you.
I wanted to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well,
I'll give you Clout Goblin access. Pseudo Clout.
Oh, I
Goblin.
appreciate it. Yeah, there you go. I appreciate it.
shout out to our friend Scott. Glad to have you back, and I hope you managed to have that conversation with Destiny. I hope it goes well for you, friend. Let's go
So nice.
to our friend Corey. Corey, thank you for being here. You've been fantastic. Oh fuck, my zipper just broke. Sorry, separate thing.
To have that effect on people.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's just
Oh, baby.
the zipper just like disintegrated. in
Corey
my
never
hands.
needs the rhino pills.
I've literally never even seen that happen before, but whatever. Okay, I'm just gonna have to move on with my life. But Corey, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a homie. You've been like really positive, sending me like really kind messages, this past week, and I just appreciate your friend.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't take it for granted. Well, I also, those positive messages I have to make up for, all the slurs that I said previously in our DMs.
Of course, all the time. Yeah.
Balance in all things. But yeah, as always, this is great. And I echo the sentiments of I'm glad to see Scott is back and he's feeling better. I hope that he continues to feel better. And I hope, obviously, he never has any health challenges whatsoever, ideally. But yeah, this has been great. You can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84. Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, and Substack. It's Corey Campbell. Ali, Grid One, Doobie, Cal Rich, Gibbs, Scott. Always a pleasure. Love you, Prime.
Thank you, friend. Let's go to our friend Gibbs, and shout out to Gibbs. I didn't get to do this before, but Gibbs and I, we went on Timcast together. Gibbs was a fantastic person to just hang out with, to chill with. I spent an extra day there just to chill with Gibbs, and it was a lot of fun. And I don't know, man, I just really appreciate you. It was a great experience, and I think you're fantastic, Gibbs.
Yeah, I had a good time. It was very fun, enjoyable. I liked it. We got to do some exciting things. To watch some horses and watch me lose a fuck ton of money. But yeah, that's always fun. Big fan. Because when it comes to luck, I had bad luck. But yeah, I want to say one other thing. I don't know if y'all saw this. British intelligence agency leaks confirmed that the British knew that COVID escaped from a lab or highly suspected. That was all used to be disinformation. So Fabian, the reason you got COVID is because Chinese were plotting. Anyway, moving on to important things. This is all memes.
It's called the Sun Tzu flu here,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So moving on. moving on. Yeah, I will be a clout goblin because on Tuesday I'm going to be going on Enemy Charlie's debate royale, and we'll play a bunch of ass because it's going to be like one conservative versus like 15.
Am I coming on? I don't know what's going on.
I think you can. I think that we already talked to him maybe, but they need conservatives in the future, guys, because it's like odds. It's like 15 to one conservative. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I added you to the group, right, Brian? You got in the Discord, yeah. So if you're in the Discord, I think that you're in. I think that's what that is. So yeah, so they need people, but that's yeah. I have as much information as you do on that. But yeah, I'll be on there Tuesday. Hopefully, Brian will be there. I will message somebody and confirm that. But yeah. Anyway, see us Tuesday, Thursday. We're gonna be talking about the auto pin thing on my channel at 7:30. Because we got. I think Sociologic's gonna be there. Some other people are gonna be there. Because goddamn, this is a travesty. And on Wednesday, big news. We're having a new show. We cloned Fox News' show. It's going to be called Outnumbered. It's going to be 5 women this time. I think usually it's going to be 4. And they're going to be talking about subjects they want, and then Admiral Gibbs, because why not? And, you know, I'm an ultra feminist, and I want to help women get their voices out there, because the left talks about women, but they don't actually help women. So Gibbs is here to give women a platform here on Twitch. And that's what I'm here for. So anyway, yeah, if you enjoy my content, check me out. I'm Admiral Gibbs on every social site. There we go.
Here's a tagline for you, Gibbs. The left talks about women but doesn't let women talk.
Amen.
Ooh, that's for sure accurate as well. So good.
Have it.
And then they replace them with men. But we don't have to talk about that. That's fine. But anyway,
when did the left get so based, man? Back to the kitchen.
Okay. Oh, okay. All
the Islamism.
Shout out to Gibbs. Good luck with all that, especially on the female-only program. I can tell you, it is difficult. But we will move on with our lives. Let's go to Aiko. Yeah, thanks for being here, friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll just devote my little bit of time to just backing up Scott there when he says he has an enlarged aortic valve, and that was why he couldn't get his vaccines. People like that exist. There's lots of them out there. And because of that, I think Corey will back me up on this. That's why the rest of us should get vaccinated, so that we can keep people like Scott safe.
Sounds like a plan. I believe so.
I'm not doing it.
All the week.
Not doing
Andy's
it.
moving right next
now
to Scott.
Sociologic and I actually agree on something. Man,
Yeah.
it's a weird night. History's being made left and right.
I now have natural immunity, so I just
Bridge
need to wait
building,
for
baby.
the 119th version of it to come out.
Listen, Fabian, you need to go become a cyborg, or you get your genes out of the pool. Since you got this thing, we're gonna call you with the.
You just told him to get his genes out of the pool. That's...
we gotta watch out for the COVID.
I don't want
hopefully,
the call is happening.
Any which way, let's go to our friend Doobie, who I know has to get back to his supermodel wife. Doobie, thank you for being here, friend. And thanks for everything, honestly. You've been fantastic. But yeah, any words you want to say?
No, thanks for having me. And yeah, I look forward to working with all of you, I hope, on getting you guys on the Timcast and whatever comes up in the future.
Indeed. Let's go to our friend Grid. Thank you, Grid. You have been great. Like, I appreciate your perspective here, friend. And thanks for being here. I know you had like family stuff at the start, but still you make time.
Yeah. Your start time is just a hair early for me. Actually, tonight, Scouts wasn't the issue. It was my son had sporting clays practice, and so he didn't get done until 6 o'clock our time, which is, I think, when you guys were firing up. So it took me a little while to get here, and I haven't actually had dinner, so I've been a little hangry. So I'm gonna go eat like soon as. Well, actually,
it wasn't personal, Ali. All right, it wasn't personal.
Yeah, it wasn't personal, Ali. I'm just.
I never take it personally.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
I hope you don't either.
Don't take it personally. Most of what I say is for the benefit of the show, although it does reflect my actual thoughts and opinions. I do talk a little larger than life because it is a show and not a discussion over a soda in a bar somewhere. Because I don't drink. Anyway, I am an unreasonable man on YouTube. You can find me there. It is the actual direct link is at grid1 motorsports. You can find me on YouTube. I'm also on Twitch and Twitter and all these other things, but just find me on YouTube. It's way better. It was great. It was actually really good tonight. Kind of got in the weeds there at the end, talking about the hard drug stuff versus the poppers. But the poppers was actually, I think, a really simple thing to kind of understand and deal with. I just don't understand. I mean, I understand why we're not dealing with it the way that it probably should be. Just we've got to get some make some changes in the way that we deal with various things in this country. Because conservatives should be for smaller government, not more government ever. So anyway, great having you guys. Good to see you back, Scott. Actually missed going back and forth with you when I can get a word in edgewise. And I've had fun with Gibbs on doing his stuff lately. And it's been a good time. So you guys have a great rest of your week. And, luck with luck, next Monday we'll do it again. And maybe I'll make you really angry. I don't know. We'll see.
Thank you. Scott longest openings and our friend Grid longest outros, but it's okay. Much appreciated. And
my opening was short. It was like 6 words.
He's saying your reputation.
Yeah, in general,
8 words.
In general.
8 words.
Yeah. Grid's third eye has been opened. He's learned so many things about drugs. He's very excited to get off stream so he can put them to practice.
Try them.
Let's go to our friend Ali. Thank you, Ali. You had a lot to say today. No, I appreciate it. You're fantastic, dude.
Yeah, man, I love being here. You can find me as Sociologic. Right now, I'm just a stream joiner. I'll be on Gibbs's show Thursday. We're going to discuss the AutoPen and hopefully the 40-hour versus 80-hour work week. Apparently, 40 hours you're lazy, 80 hours is the average and what it should be. So looking to get into that with Gibbs and friends later. And maybe one day I will start streaming. I got the setup. It's just doing it. So maybe one day you will be able to find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, Sociologic. But thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Okay. So again, guys, if you enjoyed this, all of this, consider supporting the channel by subs to the channel, give bits or give subs. We still do need your help. We haven't got any support this month, so consider supporting the channel. And with super chats and all that. I'll stick around for a bit. Oh, follow the channel too if you haven't done so yet. If you're like new to the channel, haven't done so, follow the channel on YouTube and Twitch. I should have said that before. Whatever. But yeah, anyone else? If you guys gotta head out, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll stick around if anyone wants to chat with me about anything.
I gotta go. You'll be good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Also, thanks again, Doobie. Thanks as well. Prime.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye.
I gotta head out as well. Take care, everyone. Be well.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, props to you, Prime. Props to you, Gibbs, if you're still here. I mean, and I guess props to Doobie for setting it up, whatever it may be. But like, that was awesome, man. I was extremely proud to see you guys. You know, that was dope. How'd it feel? Like, was that the bigger, like, I guess, like, biggest like live place you've been?
What is up? Yeah. All right. What's up, guys? Pardon me. Hey, I want to appreciate everyone for sending in the grift while I was distracted on the panel. I have been working to get somebody to come on and grift for me while I'm indisposed, but it just hasn't happened yet. I need a ring girl or something. It's very interesting. I actually enjoyed the first debate more than I did the second debate. The second debate seemed kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for? Gay. The second debate just seemed kind of gay. And I just couldn't, I mean, and then we got, everybody started talking about the hard drugs and all that nonsense. And then it's like, what, why are we talking about all this garbage? And, it's, I don't know, man. I just really couldn't, I wasn't happy. I wasn't into it. It just wasn't cool. You know what I mean? Just wasn't cool. So, it's, if you guys want to chat some more, I'm happy to do so. It's very interesting to me how all of this stuff ends up working out. But yeah, look, man, I gotta be honest, dude. It was so. The second argument, which was the argument based on the prompt. Notice that once I and some others kind of threw the gauntlet down, where the well, now I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, threw the gauntlet down where RFK was concerned. Nobody mentioned RFK again. Like, nobody mentioned it, right? Like, it was pretty weird, right? Like, it was just really weird. It's just kind of strange. They were like, yeah. Algerna. Okay, all right. Yeah, 70. Oh, that's true. That's probably true. It's an interesting thing with the hard drugs, and I honestly think Fabian is right. I really, I feel like that Fabian's probably right. That the first thing to do is we got to get rid of some of this nonsense around that kind of hovers around these harder drugs, and it's who knows, man. I did too. I thought that it was going to be. I thought it was going to be way more about how the FDA is actually rating places now. What's up, Nick Pluto? What is Momo? I've got to I want to understand that. What's Momo? So, yeah, I Smoking Spaceman. I thought it was going to be more about the FDA raid. I thought it was going to be more about RFK. I thought they were going to take it really political. But the problem is right out of the gate, Scott, I believe Gibbs and I all like the whole thing about RFK is just crazy. What's up, Grumpelstiltskin? FDA is a cartel in and of itself. That's true. Scott shut down already. I'm off of the. I believe that I'm off of their. Let me shut. Yeah, I'm off of their thing. I'm on because I want to sit and chat with my chat a minute. But I didn't have the warm up chat that Scott does. So it could be. I don't know. Yeah, clear me up on that, Nico Pluto. That's actually cool. Nico Pluto. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting tonight because I think after the first section of the debate, when I went hardcore at Sociologic and Doobie and all those guys, and I called them on their lies and their bullshit, I think that set the tone, and they just didn't want to fuck with me anymore about it. And Doobie kind of like tried to come at me there a little bit, but I told you, I look like a Sam Giancana. Okay, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Well, good to see you, Nico, in the chat. Yeah, it was interesting tonight. I really appreciate all the super chats and everything. That really helps out, especially when I'm doing these debates, to kind of look over and see that, and I get a smile. But it's really cool because what's interesting is that I actually can't pay attention to the chat much. I got to be over here. I'm normally facing this screen to see, what kind of bullshit they're talking about. And and so it's really cool to hear the super chat go off and look over, because it kind of distracts me and it lets me know people are listening and they're behind what I'm saying. But really, man, what really gets me is that I can look over and I can just see the chat and I can see all the support, and it's really cool. So I really appreciate that. Hopefully you've been here the whole time, and if I don't know who's left and whatever. My name is Momo. Okay. Momo's a good steering wheel, actually. So I think I still have one. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It's been really cool. What was gay? I think that is pretty. There's a dude. It was a total gay night. Got to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of gay tonight. Like a lot of stuff about butt stuff. So. But as always, guys, I really appreciate everybody, coming in and hanging out. Man, I'm blowing up. Somebody just probably Discord. Grumple Stillskin, how the hell are you, man? I've been wondering what happened to you, dude. I haven't seen you on in a while, and I was starting to wonder if maybe maybe something had happened or you had some issues or something. But I'm really glad that you're okay, and I see you there. So hopefully you're doing really well. As a matter of fact, Grumple, why not, if you're around Wednesday night, you should come on the show and we'll sit down and we'll talk some cool stuff. So yeah, they did doom themselves. ZD Den. Awesome, by the way, super cool, ZD Den. Really appreciate the big 20 there. That was awesome. Oh wow, that's terrible. You going to be around Wednesday night, Grumple? You can come on and we'll shoot the shit, hang out. So I don't know what you do for work, so it's cool that I don't know that. But if you're going to be around, man. It checks the calendar, throw something down in the DMs. I was gonna hang around for a while, guys, but I am fucking starving. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna raid you guys over to Sarah's, if that's cool, and then because I think it's gonna be cool, I'm gonna raid you guys over to the Raging Tomato. I'm gonna eat something if I can, if I've got anything, if my kid left me anything to eat, and then I'm gonna hop up on Sarah's panel, or maybe I'll hop up on Sarah's panel for a few minutes, and then I'll go get something to eat. Either way, it'll work out. But I'm gonna raid you guys over there, so hopefully you're all set up to be redirected and everything. Arthur Dye, good to see you in the chat tonight. I did see you there. Anson Knowles, I actually like the new nickname. Really, really appreciate that. And really enjoyed that. So you guys, I'm gonna just, like I said, I'm gonna raid you guys over there, and you guys are really cool. It's been a great night, great debate. Could have been better, to be honest with you, but honestly, every time Doobie is on stream, it's a shit show. So they would have been better off to have had Lactoid on there, but. Anyway, even with only 3 conservatives or near conservatives on the panel, we crushed the hopes, dreams, and souls of all the leftists. So there you go. There you go. You guys have a great night. Be cool. Wear glasses if you need them. And get off my lawn.